Introduction: the bridge between the invisible and matter. The word faith is, without a doubt, one of the most beautiful, ancient, and powerful in the history of humanity. When you hear it, it is almost automatic for your mind to travel toward a temple. You think of sacred texts, of people kneeling, of silent prayers, and of pure devotion toward the divine. It makes total sense for it to be so. For millennia, great religions have been the wonderful custodians of this concept. They taught us the immense value of believing in that which our physical eyes cannot yet see. They gave us comfort and direction. However, as a society, we made an error of perception. Without realizing it, we locked faith exclusively within sacred walls. We mentally labeled it with a sign that said, "Exclusive use for matters of the soul." We believed that faith was solely an act of spiritual devotion or a moral requirement to please God. In doing this, we disconnected from its true practical and mechanical nature. Faith is not just a religious concept, it is the driving force of physics. Faith is the exact and mathematical bridge that connects the invisible world of ideas with the dense and material world in which you dwell. It is the source code with which your three-dimensional reality is programmed. Today, quantum physics and universal laws are translating into everyday language what mystics knew for centuries. Modern scientists talk to us about the collapse of the wave function. They explain how the observer's expectation and absolute certainty literally alter the behavior of subatomic particles. What is that if not the exact definition of faith? It is the absolute, unbreakable certainty of a result before there is any physical proof. Neville Goddard, one of the great masters of metaphysics, taught us that faith is simply loyalty to the invisible reality. It is assuming the feeling of your desire as an already accomplished fact. The great irony is that you are already an absolute master of faith. You use it every day, 24 hours a day. The problem is that, by not understanding its quantum mechanics, you often use it against yourself. When you go to bed terrified, thinking that tomorrow everything will go wrong in your business, and you feel it so real that your heart races, you are applying pure and hard faith to materialize a disaster. Faith is a universal and neutral law, exactly like gravity. It works in your church, of course, but it also works in your bank account, in your health, and in your romantic relationships. It never turns off. This book does not seek to pull you away from your spiritual beliefs. On the contrary, it seeks to expand them. It seeks to give you back control of the steering wheel of this divine machinery that you carry inside. In the next chapters, we are going to take faith out of the drawer of abstract concepts. We are going to understand its anatomy, its vibration, and its direct application in your daily life. You will learn to use faith not only to find inner peace, but as the high-precision tool that it is, the ultimate weapon to collapse your dreams, your abundance, and your success onto this physical plane. The journey toward true sovereignty has just begun. Chapter 1. Faith is not hope, it is mathematical certainty. Welcome to the first level of deprogramming your mind. To use faith as the quantum precision tool it truly is, we must first clear the ground. We must uproot one of the greatest confusions in human history. Society, culture, and our daily language have mixed two concepts that are opposites. They have put hope and faith in the same box. This innocent vocabulary error is costing you the life of your dreams. We have been taught to say, "I have faith that things will get better," when in reality what we are feeling is deep and desperate hope. We believe they are synonyms, but the universe understands physics, not dictionaries. The hidden poison of hope. To understand the majesty of faith, you must first dissect hope. Hope is a beautiful, poetic, and very romantic feeling. It consoles you on dark nights. But at the level of manifestation and quantum mechanics, hope is completely useless. Analyze the anatomy of hope. When you say, "I hope I get that job," what are you really saying? What is the underlying statement your subconscious mind is emitting? Hope always, without exception, lives in the future. It is a projection toward tomorrow. And since the future never arrives, because we always live in an eternal present, hope keeps you in a state of perpetual waiting. You are a passenger in life's waiting room. But there is something even more lethal. Hope implies the seed of doubt. If you hope for something to happen, you are admitting physically and emotionally that there is a real possibility that it will not happen. you are leaving a margin for error. Hope says, I desire this, but I recognize it could go wrong. By vibrating at that frequency, the universe, which is a perfect mirror, reflects exactly that back to you. Uncertain situations, doubts, and halfway results. Hope is the emotion of lack. When you are thirsty, you don't hope for water. You go and pour a glass. Hope shouts to the cosmos, I don't have it and I need it. Faith as mathematical certainty. Now erase all that. Faith in its purest metaphysical and scientific definition has absolutely nothing to do with wishing for something. Faith is not crossing your fingers. Faith is not looking at the sky begging for the odds to play in your favor. Faith is mathematical certainty. It is the absolute undeniable knowledge of a fact. Faith does not operate in the future. It operates exclusively in the present tense. Faith does not say, I am going to be rich. Faith declares, I am abundance itself, here and now. Think of basic mathematics. If I ask you how much 2 plus 2 is, you don't answer. I hope it's 4. You don't pray for it. You simply know it. That is the level of conviction true faith demands. It is not an altered emotion or blind fanaticism. It is a deep, almost boring calm of knowing that the laws of the universe work with the same precision as mathematics. 1 plus 1 plus 2, my desire, my assumption, my reality. Faith is loyalty to the invisible reality, the observer effect and quantum physics. You don't have to believe in magic to understand this. Modern quantum physics has reached the same conclusions as the ancient mystics. Everything in the universe, at its subatomic level, is not solid matter, but waves of infinite probability. Your ideal life, that successful business, already exists in the quantum field. And how is it brought into reality? Through what science calls the observer effect. It has been proven in laboratories that the simple expectation and observation of a scientist alters the behavior of subatomic particles. Consciousness collapses the wave and turns it into matter. This is where faith acts as a precision laser. Hope looks at the quantum field and says, I wish that wave would become my desire. Because there is doubt, the wave remains a blurry probability. It does not collapse. Quantum faith, on the other hand, observes the field and says, this is already a fact. That certainty is the force that forces the wave to become a particle. The analogy of the cosmic restaurant. Imagine you go to a luxury restaurant. You sit down, open the menu, choose your favorite dish, and ask the waiter for it with total clarity. The waiter notes your order, nods, and heads toward the kitchen. What do you do at that moment? Do you sit there biting your nails, praying that the chef knows how to cook? Of course not. You relax, you drink some water, you enjoy the music. Why are you so calm? Because you have the mathematical certainty that your food is being prepared and will arrive at your table. That is faith. You have placed the order. You know the restaurant works. Your physical behavior reflects your internal certainty. However, in the restaurant of life, you do the opposite. You ask the universe for a wish, and 5 minutes later you panic. You doubt that the order was heard. You try to sneak into the cosmic kitchen to force things. That anxiety is the direct order to the waiter to cancel your order. It says you don't believe you deserve the dish. The anatomy of knowing. True faith does not feel like constant euphoria. Another great lie we've been sold is that you must be jumping for joy all day to manifest. Joy and gratitude are excellent, but the peak of emotion is not biologically sustainable. The highest state of faith feels like deep relief. It feels like a silent knowing. Think of something you already possess. Think of your bed, your clothes, your name. Do you feel uncontrolled euphoria knowing what your name is? No. You feel a normal calm. That normalcy is the vibrational signature of possession. When you have mathematical certainty about your future, you stop being obsessed with it. You stop desperately looking for signs, because he who already has it does not look for it. This state of absolute tranquility is what was called the Sabbath in ancient times. It was not a day of the week to not work physically. It was a state of consciousness. It is the moment when your mind rests because the work is done. Breaking the addiction to 3D proof. The greatest challenge to developing this quantum faith is your addiction to the 5 senses. We have been educated to be outside-in thinkers. We believe that physical reality, 3D, dictates how we should feel. If I see money, I feel rich. If I see debt, I feel poor. But metaphysics requires you to reverse that process. You must become an inside-out thinker. Faith requires you to turn your back on the temporary evidence of your physical senses, because 3D is just a mirror of the past. What you see today, your house, your bank balance, is not your creative present. It is the echo, the delayed shadow of your past thoughts and assumptions. It is like seeing the light of a dead star. You see it today, but the star ceased to exist millions of years ago. If you let that echo dictate your emotional state, you are trapped in an infinite loop. Faith is the act of supreme rebellion, looking at the echo of scarcity and refusing to accept it as your final truth. The vocabulary shift, the first practical step. To transform hope into faith, the first adjustment must occur on your lips. Your words are sonic decrees that program your neurology. You must murder the vocabulary of doubt. From this chapter on, the word hopefully is strictly eliminated from your lexicon. Hopefully is the anthem of those who have no power. Likewise, eliminate phrases like, "we'll see what happens," or "fingers crossed." You are going to replace that weak vocabulary with the language of sovereignty. You will use "I am," "I have," and "it is a fact." At first, your logical mind will rebel. It will tell you that you are lying because your eyes don't see the result yet. That's normal. Your logical mind is a computer programmed to protect you from disappointment, but you are the consciousness that programs it. Repeat your decrees of mathematical certainty until the logical mind surrenders. Instead of, "I hope my health improves," and say, "my health is an undeniable fact." Feel the difference in weight between both stances. One shrinks your shoulders and fills you with anxiety. The other straightens your spine and fills you with serene power. That is the physical temperature of faith operating in your biology. Certainty does not exhaust itself trying to figure out the how. Your only job is to set the final destination. Hold the mathematical certainty that you are already at the goal. The incidents, the bridges, the hows are not your business. Faith is surrendering to the cosmic process without trying to micromanage the work of the universe. It is knowing that invisible laws are more potent. Chapter 2. The External God versus the I Am. You have taken the first step. You have understood that faith is not sitting around and waiting. You have understood that faith is a mathematical certainty, a physical force that collapses probability into matter. But now we face the biggest, oldest, and most deeply rooted obstacle in the human psyche, the mother lie of all lies, the heaviest illusion in history, the unshakable belief in separation. From the day you were born, you have been told a horror story about who you are and who is in charge of the universe. They told you that you are a small, fragile, sinful, and naturally flawed being. They taught you that up there, very far from you, beyond the clouds, the universe, and the human intellect, there is a God, an immense, all-powerful, external being who keeps a ledger of your mistakes. They told us that this external God observes your every move, that he judges your actions, rewards the good and punishes the bad with an implacable and mysterious fury that you cannot question. They convinced you that, to achieve anything in life, you had to kneel before him. You had to plead, cry, make sacrifices, and beg for a little mercy to grant you a decent life. The psychology of the spiritual beggar. This idea of the external God is the most brilliant and destructive mass psychological control tool ever invented. It has kept the entire humanity on its knees, submissive and scared for thousands of years. Think about it with cold mathematical logic. If you believe that the power to change your life is outside of you, in the hands of an invisible and inscrutable being who decides your destiny, you automatically become a slave. You become a spiritual beggar. Your faith under this toxic paradigm is not a creative power. It is simply a lottery ticket that you hope the big boss in the sky decides to reward out of pure pity. If things go well, you say, "God was good to me. He granted me the miracle." If things go wrong and you are ruined, you say, "They are the Lord's mysterious plans. He will know why he punishes or tests me." Do you see the deadly trap you are in? In both scenarios, you have no real responsibility. You are a puppet. You are a dry leaf moved by the wind of divine whims. You have no power over your destiny. This externalization of power is the exact reason why your life does not change despite so much praying. As long as you keep believing that you have to convince someone outside to give you money, health, or love, you will fail. The quantum field, the divine matrix of reality that responds to universal laws, does not obey the tears of a beggar. It feels no pity. It is not moved by your dramatic pleas in the dark, the great secret revealed. It is time to tear down the temple of ignorance. It is time for you to hear the raw truth for which the great mystics, alchemists, and sages were burned at the stake for trying to teach the world. God is not up there. God is not an old man sitting on a golden throne. God is not an entity separate from you who judges you from the coldness of distance. Separation is the greatest optical illusion of the universe. God, the infinite intelligence, the source, the quantum field, is your own wonderful human imagination. It is your consciousness of being. It is the pure and naked consciousness of existing that dwells right in your chest. The mystic Neville Goddard was the modern pioneer in unearthing this secret. He taught us to read ancient texts not as ancient secular history, but as the most advanced manual of metaphysical psychology in the world. Let's look at the story of Moses and the burning bush. When Moses asks God what his name is, so he can tell the people who sends him to free them, God does not give him an unpronounceable human name. God responds, "I am that I am." And then he adds, as an absolute instruction, "Thus shalt thou say unto the children of Israel, I am hath sent me unto you." This is the name of the source for all eternal generations. The sovereignty of the I am. Stop here for a second and analyze this phrase with intelligence. I am. What exactly is I am? It is the declaration of pure existence. It is the unconditioned consciousness before you add any physical label to it. You cannot say you exist on this planet without first feeling I am. Before being John, Mary, a lawyer, poor, rich, sick, or healthy, you simply are. That fundamental and invisible consciousness is God operating in you. You are the branch of the tree. You are the individualized wave of the cosmic ocean. The ocean is not separate from the wave. The entire ocean expresses itself through it. God is experiencing himself through your body of flesh. When you kneel to plead with an external God, you are praying to an illusion. You are projecting your own power into the void, creating a ghost intermediary that does not exist. You are giving away your cosmic crown to nothingness. True prayer is not asking for alms from heaven. True prayer is sovereign assumption. It is entering your mind, connecting with your I am, and claiming your desire as an already accomplished fact in the matrix of reality. The end of the intermediary. This revelation is terrifying for the human ego and for traditional institutions of control. If you are the operating power, if your consciousness is the only creator of your life, then intermediaries are completely superfluous. You no longer need a priest to intercede for your sins. You no longer need a social media guru to sell you the secret of abundance. You no longer need complex rituals or painful sacrifices to be heard. You have a direct and uninterrupted line to the machine room of the universe because you are the machine room. Your imagination is the divine workshop where all realities are forged before manifesting in 3D matter. But assuming this truth requires an immense courage that few have. It means you no longer have anyone to blame for your failures. If your life is a mess, it is not the devil's fault. Nor is it a blind punishment from karma or God. It is solely and exclusively the result of your misuse of the law. It is your misuse of the I am. If you have the absolute power to create magnetic wealth, you also have the absolute power to materialize the deepest misery. The true blasphemy. Society taught you that blasphemy is insulting a deity with bad words, or not attending a brick temple on a specific day of the week. They taught you to fear that a lightning bolt would fall on you if you said something improper to heaven. But in the light of quantum physics, blasphemy has a completely different meaning. It is logical and much more lethal for your own existence in the material and spiritual world. If the real name of God is I am, then the true blasphemy is attaching any negative, limiting, or destructive concept to those two sacred words. Every time you speak, you are not describing, you are decreeing. When you say out loud, I am poor, you are blaspheming in the worst way. You are taking the supreme creative force of the universe and forcing it to take the vibrational form of misery. You are insulting the divinity within you. When you say, I am a failure, I am ugly, or I am weak, you are giving a direct construction order. You are giving a construction order to the quantum field, and the field, which is a blind and impeccable servant, obeys. The universe does not argue with your stupidities. It does not say, hey, you are a great being, don't treat yourself like that. The universe simply reflects your assumption like a mirror. You say, I am clumsy, and the universe materializes obstacles so that you fall. The sacred use of your name. From this precise instant in your life, you must watch your use of the I am with the discipline of an elite sniper. You must treat those two words as the weapon of mass creation they truly are in your neurology. Never, under any mitigating circumstance, allow an affirmation to come out of your mouth or mind that links I am with pain. Never link your I am with something you do not wish to materially experience in your three-dimensional and financial reality. If your bank account is literally at zero, never say, I am poor. You will say coldly, I am experiencing a temporary lack of liquidity, but I am infinite abundance in a state of manifestation. If your body has a diagnosis of pain or disease, do not say, I am a sick person. You will say, my physical vehicle is processing a temporary imbalance, but I am perfect health and absolute cellular regeneration operating now. The external circumstance is fleeting. It is simply the fossilized echo of the past. Your I am, on the other hand, is eternal, malleable, and creative. When you refuse to identify with the shadow of the problem, you immediately cut off its oxygen. The physics of identity change. Quantum manifestation is not about attracting separate things to you. You do not use a magnet to attract money from the outside into your pocket. Pure manifestation is about becoming the person who already vibrates in that possession. It is a brutal identity shift, not an anxious hunt for shiny objects. The universe does not give you what you want and desire from scarcity. The universe mathematically gives you what you are according to your subconscious self-concept. If you have a financial slave mentality and by chance you win the lottery, you will lose all the money in less than 5 years. The universe will quickly correct the material anomaly so that reality matches your internal identity of scarcity. If a self-made millionaire loses all his capital in a crisis, he will recover it in a couple of years without effort. Why? Because his I am was not shaken. He still assumes he is a natural generator of wealth. Money must return by law. To radically change your outer world, you must obligatorily change your inner I am. You have to climb onto the throne of your mind and put on the heavy crown of the sovereign creator. You must stop looking up, seeking salvation. The awakening of the inner God. Imagine for a second the terrifying and inspiring magnitude of what I am telling you. Imagine that the very power that holds the galaxies in their geometric place, that makes your heart beat without you thinking about it, resides in the center of your chest. That cosmic power is not asleep, it is awake. It is working at full speed, but it is waiting for clear and productive orders. Until today, your orders have been pure complaints, laments, and fears based on your wounded past. You have been using a surgical precision quantum laser to unconsciously burn the foundations of your own house. You have been a god using his divine powers to create labyrinths of misery and playing the role of the trapped minotaur. Assuming your internal God means taking back the helm of that drifting ship. It means looking the worst storms of your life in the eye and knowing with total certainty that you created them. You created them with your ignorance, and you will dissolve them with your wisdom. You are no longer the crying victim of a cruel fate written in the stars. You are no longer the target of an angry deity who tests you. You are the absolute screenwriter, the ruthless director, and the main actor of your life. The script is yours. The practice of the sovereign, the return to the center. How do we make the practical transition from the scared beggar to the quantum king? How do we erase decades of limiting religious programming that has neurologically conditioned us to feel small, sinful, and unworthy of greatness? The key lies in the aggressive and sustained training of pure attention. Just as you go to the gym to lift weights to break fibers and force them to grow, you must train your mind to hold the weight of your new I am. The exercise is simple in theory, but brutally challenging in daily practice. Several times a day, physically stop everything you're doing. Close your eyes. Close. Disconnect from the material world and your screens for just 60 seconds. Take all your fierce attention to the center of your being. Ignore your human name. Ignore your tragic past. Ignore your debts and your problems. Stay only with the primary sensation of existing, the naked sensation of being alive. That is your I am core. Once you feel that silent, dense, and powerful presence, you are going to bathe it with the new concept that you demand to materialize in your life. You are going to unite the base consciousness of existing with the resounding certainty of your desire already fulfilled. If you seek financial prosperity, you will say silently but with iron authority, "I am inexhaustible wealth flowing." Feel how those words are not empty self-help affirmations, but the rewriting of your quantum source code. The inevitable friction with the old 3D reality. At first, when you begin to claim your internal divinity and feel big, you will experience enormous friction. Your logical mind, addicted to misery and the predictable, will scream at you that you are losing your mind. It will tell you that you are a fake. Your five senses will show you the empty bank account. They will show you the unpaid bill or the empty bed, and they will whisper with poison, "See? Your damn I am doesn't work at all. You are still the same failure. Give up, be realistic, and go back to suffering." This friction is the Creator's trial by fire. It is the alchemical furnace where spiritual children are separated from the true masters of reality. The beggar gives in to the physical evidence of 3D and goes back to crying. The Creator laughs and stands firm. The Creator knows perfectly well that the three-dimensional physical world 3D is dense. It is slow as cold asphalt and extremely sticky. It takes time to update commands. 3D is the computer monitor, not the keyboard where the code is written. Your mind just typed a new code by assuming your new I am. The screen of your physical reality is still showing the old program out of pure inertia. The echoes of your past fears are still rendering before your eyes, but you do not let go of the keyboard. You stay anchored like a rock in your new divine identity. You ignore the old images on the screen because you have the mathematical certainty that the quantum processor has already accepted the new command, the necessary murder of the false god. For your I am to shine with all the destructive and world-creating power, the external god has to die definitively in your mind. You cannot serve two operating systems. You cannot be the sovereign creator and the victim waiting to be saved. This metaphysical murder is an act of raw and deep liberation. It is kicking and releasing the crutch that kept you psychologically invalid. It is ripping the training wheels off your cosmic bicycle. From today, you pedal without a safety net. If you crash against the wall, it is your absolute responsibility. If you fly toward the stars, it is your total glory. This radical responsibility is terrifying for the weak ego that loves to blame, but it is the most intoxicating oxygen for the awakened soul. Stand up. Look at yourself in the nearest mirror. Look deep into the dark abyss of your own pupils. That being looking back at you is not a fragile biological accident. It is the infinite source disguised in a human suit of flesh. You had hidden so well from yourself, you played the game of limitation so well, that you came to seriously believe you were just matter. You came to believe the madness that you had to ask permission from heaven to be abundant. The game is over. Wake up. You have recovered your true name. You have dethroned the illusion. But a crown does not stay alone on the head of a novice king. It requires a sharp, cold mind, armored against the counterintelligence attacks of the matrix itself. Once you have assumed your unlimited power, your own mind will try to sabotage you. Your mind, trained by society, will try to sabotage you from within. The ego will want to regain its old control through an extremely subtle and socially accepted poison. That poison does not take the form of a terrifying monster. It elegantly disguises itself as crushing logic, financial prudence, and being realistic. It attacks you when you are alone in bed, when the lights go out and 3D reality seems to laugh at your big dreams. I speak of doubt, but make no mistake. Doubt is not weakness. Doubt is not the absence of faith. Doubt is faith operating at its maximum and terrifying power, but with the wheel turned toward the abyss. If you are going to be the absolute owner of the architecture of your reality, you have to learn to disarm this quantum bomb. You have to understand how your own creative brilliance is keeping you in bankruptcy and pain today. Chapter 3: Doubt is inverted faith. You have assumed your throne. You have pronounced the sacred words. You have looked in the mirror and declared that the external God has died to make way for the I am that dwells in your chest. You feel invincible for a moment, but then night falls. You go to bed, turn off the light, and find yourself alone with the silence of your room. And in that darkness, a cold, calculating and familiar voice begins to whisper in your ear. That voice says to you, "What if all of this is a lie? What if tomorrow the bank forecloses on you? What if that person never returns? What if your business fails miserably, and you end up in ruins being everyone's laughingstock?" You feel a knot of ice forming in your stomach. Your breathing becomes agitated. Terror invades you, and your first reaction, your immediate mental diagnosis, is to say, "I have lost my faith. I am weak. I have failed again." Stop right now. Listen to me with the coldness of a quantum surgeon. That is the biggest lie your ego has ever told. You have not lost your faith at all. Your faith is operating at its maximum and terrifying capacity. The problem is that you have a completely distorted concept of what it means to doubt. You have been taught that doubt is a void, an absence of belief. You have been taught that doubting is running out of spiritual battery. That is trash. Doubt is not the absence of faith. Doubt is inverted faith. It is faith operating to perfection, with absolute mathematical precision, but with the steering wheel turned directly toward the abyss of your destruction. Faith is simply the mathematical certainty that an invisible event will become material. When you are terrified by the possibility of remaining poor, you are not empty of belief. You have a gigantic and solid belief in poverty. You are assuming, with a conviction so deep that it makes you sweat and tremble physically, that disaster is an imminent fact. Your body is reacting to a mental movie that you assume as absolute truth. Do you realize the magnitude of what you are doing? You are using the quantum engine of universal creation, the very power of God that resides in your I am, to build a castle of misery around you. Chronic anxiety is not a disorder of weakness. It is a demonstration of your brutal capacity to manifest undesired scenarios. Worrying is literally praying with fervor for that which you do not want to happen. When you spend 3 hours imagining how your partner is going to abandon you, you are doing an advanced visualization session. You are creating a black vision board. You are applying the law of assumption to perfection. The universe does not have a moral filter. The quantum field is a matrix of energy that is blind, deaf, and infinitely obedient. It does not judge your desires. It does not say, "Poor human, they are imagining their ruin. I better not grant it to them." The universe only obeys the vibrational signature of your certainty. If your certainty is that on Friday you are going to be fired from your job, the universe sets itself in motion immediately. It reorganizes events, moves people, and executes your order. The firing happens. And you, from your role as a victim, cry and say, "I knew it, I knew they were going to fire me, I have such bad luck." No, idiot, you don't have bad luck. You are a master creator who has just received their exact order. Your I am is a steel-cutting laser. Faith is the beam. When you have hope, the beam is off. When you have faith in your success, the beam cuts through your prison door. When you doubt, you grab the beam and shoot yourself in the foot. Doubt is black magic executed against yourself by your own hand. It is a spell of self-sabotage financed with your own vital energy. Every time you let yourself be dragged by a "what if it goes wrong," you are signing a blank check to failure. Your egoic mind, addicted to primitive survival, will try to justify this torture. It will tell you that you are not doubting, that you are simply being realistic. It will tell you that it is smart to prepare for the worst-case scenario. Being realistic is the most pathetic excuse of cowards to not sustain their creative vision. Society applauds you for being realistic. They tell you that being prudent and anticipating disaster makes you a responsible and intelligent adult. They have brainwashed you so that you worship the matrix statistics. If 90% of businesses fail, your realistic mind demands that you have faith in failure. You align with the masses. You surrender to the inertia of the mediocre. But the sovereign creator knows that the current reality is only a corpse. It is the fossil echo of past thoughts. Being realistic means worshipping a dead echo instead of emitting a new powerful sound. The great visionaries of history, those who bent the world to their will, were considered crazy and irresponsible by the realists of their time. They ignored the mathematical probabilities of failure. They used their faith to nullify statistics. They understood that a single man with absolute certainty is a force superior to millions of people operating under the inertia of collective doubt and programmed fear. You have to eradicate the pride of being prudent. When you imagine contingency plans, when you design a plan B just in case, you have just murdered your plan A. You have told the universe that your primary certainty is a sham. To have a plan B is to declare your inverted faith. It is to tell the infinite intelligence, I order you to make me rich, but since deep down I know it won't work, here are the instructions to keep me in the middle class. The universe, obeying your deepest and most honest vibration, that of protective doubt, will ignore your request for wealth and execute your plan B with millimetric precision. And you will say, thank goodness I was realistic and prepared myself. Do you realize the vicious circle of madness in which you live? You yourself build the wall against which you are going to crash, and then you congratulate yourself for wearing the seatbelt at the moment of impact. True quantum faith demands burning the ships. It demands that you stand at the edge of the precipice and jump. Jump with the non-negotiable certainty that the ground will rise to support your feet before you touch the bottom. There is no safety net. Now the vital question is, why does our mind have this obsessive and almost demonic tendency to seek the worst-case scenario? Why is it so easy to have inverted faith? Why is it so difficult to sustain the golden vision of our success? The answer lies in the biology of your physical container. Your primitive brain, the amygdala, did not evolve to make you happy, rich, or enlightened. It evolved solely and exclusively to keep you alive in a jungle full of predators. For a caveman, imagining that a rustle in the bushes was a lion, the worst-case scenario, saved his life. Imagining that it was a beautiful butterfly, the best-case scenario, turned him into dinner. Your brain was designed for paranoia. You are operating divine quantum hardware with biological software designed for the Stone Age. Your body is constantly scanning the horizon looking for threats. Fear is its default programming language. When your mind throws an image of financial bankruptcy at you, it doesn't do it because it hates you. It does it because it is trying to protect you from the emotional shock, forcing you to live it in your imagination first. But here is your evolutionary leap as a sovereign creator. You are not your biological brain. You are the immortal consciousness that inhabits and observes that brain. You are the king who must tame the watchdog that barks at shadows. When doubt attacks, you must not fight against it with hatred. If you get angry for being afraid, you are doubling the vibration of resistance. You are shooting a second arrow at yourself. You are feeding the monster with more attention. What you must do is observe the doubt with absolute analytical coldness. When the voice of terror says, "What if we lose all the money?" what do you look at it? Look at it like a scientist looks at a lab rat running in its wheel, and you respond to it with hierarchical authority. I understand that you are scared, brain. It is your function. But in this empire, you do not make the decisions. I make the decisions. And the purchase order has already been issued to the quantum field. You must apply the technique of violent replacement. The human mind cannot sustain two opposite thoughts with the same intensity at the same time. You cannot vibrate in poverty and in wealth in the same nanosecond. When you catch your mind using your faith in an inverted way, you have 3 biological seconds to interrupt. You have 3 seconds to interrupt the pattern before the stress chemical floods your blood and collapses the probability against you. Scream internally, cancelled. Use that word like a mallet to break the glass of obsessive thought. Stop the horror movie in its tracks, and immediately after violently inject the image of your desire fulfilled. If the doubt was, "My partner is going to leave me," you scream cancelled, and immediately submerge yourself in the physical and emotional sensation of being deeply and absolutely loved, respected, and secure in that relationship. You assume it as a fact. You are going to have to do this 100 or 500 times a day at first. Your mind is a wild horse that has been ridden by terror for decades. You are not going to tame it with 2 minutes of soft meditation. It will require a Herculean effort of your will. You will exhaust your mental energy. But every time you intercept a doubt and force it to look toward the light, You are forging new titanium neural pathways. You are domesticating the beast. You are taking the laser beam of your inverted faith, which previously pointed at your chest, and you are turning it with your own trembling hands so that it points directly at the door of your freedom. This is where many false teachers of the secret fail miserably in teaching you. They tell you that if you have a single negative thought, you ruin your manifestation. That generates a neurotic panic in students. Listen well, the universe does not collapse your reality because of a passing thought. The universe collapses reality based on your state of dwelling. That is the internal attitude you return to by default. A fleeting thought of fear does not destroy your wealth, in the same way that eating an apple one day does not make you healthy for life. What creates matter is repetitive obsession. It is faith sustained over time. If doubt visits you for a moment, nothing happens. You close the door and return to your throne. The real danger is inviting doubt in, serving it a cup of tea, sitting with it on the sofa, and spending the entire afternoon ruminating on tragedies. That is the difference between being visited by fear and living in fear. You are the host of your mind. You have the absolute right of admission. If a thought does not pay rent in the form of peace and abundance, you kick it out. The mental discipline I am demanding of you in this chapter is the price in blood for your freedom. There are no shortcuts. There are no magic crystals or full moon rituals that can do the work of your own internal vigilance. You have to become a relentless security guard at the gates of your consciousness. You must audit every thought, every assumption, and every phrase that crosses your mind. If it smells of inverted faith, you incinerate it without mercy. Stop admiring realists. Realists are simply pessimists who found a socially acceptable label. The world has never been advanced by realistic men and women. The world is pushed forward by those who have the audacity to ignore what is, to impose what must be. Those who see a physical desert and assume an ocean with such force that the earth has no choice but to open up. That is true faith. It is a divine stubbornness. It is refusing to negotiate the terms of your victory with current circumstances. When the bank says 0, quantum faith says, I am lined with gold. The bank is just late. If you manage to domesticate your doubt, you become an anomaly in the system. You become what ancient alchemical texts called an adept, a human being whose internal scale is no longer altered by the external chaos of the world. Do you realize now why your past life was so difficult? You were not a victim of bad luck. You were a sleeping giant, using an enormous force to crush yourself with nightmares projected in real life. You can no longer play the ignorant card. You now know that your anxiety is your own creative power operating against you. You now know that doubt is a toxic luxury that a sovereign cannot afford under any circumstances. Forgive yourself for all the times you self-sabotaged in the past. You didn't know how the steering wheel worked. Now you have it in your hands. And the mandate is clear. Never again will you pray for what you do not want to experience. Your faith has ceased to be a weapon of mass self-destruction. You have cleaned it, you have recalibrated it, and you have pointed it toward your glory. But now, you face a new monumental barrier in the physical world of the third dimension. Now that you have certainty, what do you do with the material world around you? When you open your physical eyes and the problem is still standing in front of you shouting in your face, how do you manage not to fall back into the trap of fear? How do you maintain the state of grace when physical pain and bills invade your space? To master the level of mastery you are seeking, you must learn the secret technique of the great prophets and mystics. You have to learn to close the doors of three-dimensional perception at will. You have to master the art of radical detachment. You have to learn to walk through this world as if you were an untouchable ghost. You have to apply the selective blindness that will allow you to ignore the matrix while you write the new code. Chapter 4. The Fasting of the Senses. You have arrived at the bloodiest battlefield of manifestation. You have understood that faith is not hope, but a mathematical certainty. You have killed the external God to reclaim the vibrant throne of your I am, and you have tamed doubt. You have the complete theoretical manual. Your mind is sharp and ready to give the order to the universe. You feel powerful in the safety of your room. But then you open the door. You go out into the street and open your physical eyes. And three-dimensional reality slaps you with an open hand. You look at your bank account, and the numbers are still in red. You feel the sting of pain in your body. You hear your partner screaming at you. The physical world crushes you with its immense density. In that instant, all your metaphysical theory crumbles. Your ego screams in your ear, "Where is your divine power now? Look around you. You are ruined. You are alone. You are sick." Reality is this, not the fantasies you have in your head. Welcome to the great trap of the Matrix. Welcome to the master deception of the five senses. Today you are going to learn to execute the most advanced, difficult and radical technique of all applied Hermeticism, the fasting of the senses. We have been educated under a materialistic paradigm that adores a lethal phrase, "Seeing is believing." They taught you that only what you can touch, measure and weigh is real. Everything else is considered mere imagination, fantasy, or clinical madness. This is the lie that keeps you chained to mediocrity. The quantum truth, the supreme law of the universe, is exactly the opposite. Believing is seeing. Matter is not the cause of reality. Matter is the last link in the chain. Think of three-dimensional reality, the famous 3D, as if it were a computer monitor. What you see on the screen is not generated in the glass of that monitor. It is generated in the hidden processor, through invisible lines of code. When your life is a disaster, trying to change it by fighting with the outside world is like trying to erase a spelling mistake on the computer screen by rubbing the monitor with a wet rag. It is an act of monumental stupidity. If you want to change what the screen shows, you have to look away from the monitor. You have to go down to the keyboard and rewrite the code in the processor. Your processor is the subconscious mind. The source code is your assumption, it is your faith in action. But here lies the problem of humanity. You are addicted to the screen. You are a chronic addict to the information your five senses send you every millisecond. If your eyes see poverty, your brain releases stress chemicals immediately. If your ears hear an insult, your body tenses up preparing for war. You are biologically programmed to react to the physical environment. You are a slave to external stimuli, an animal reacting to the blows of life. The sovereign creator does not react to the world. The world responds to the creator. To achieve this mastery, you must learn to practice the fasting of the senses. It is not about stopping the ingestion of physical food. It is about something much deeper. It is about stopping the swallowing of the toxic garbage that your eyes and ears serve you on a silver platter every day. You have to subject your ego to a strict diet of sensory starvation. You have to learn to look at your empty account and feel nothing. This sounds like madness. Your psychiatrist would tell you that you are losing touch with reality, that you are in a mechanism of pathological denial and that this is dangerous. But traditional psychiatry does not understand a bit of quantum mechanics. Pathological denial is ignoring a problem out of terror, hiding your head like an ostrich to avoid facing the consequences of the world. The fasting of the senses is not cowardly evasion. It is a tactical attack of the highest precision. The adept does not ignore the 3D reality out of fear. He ignores it out of supreme creative arrogance. He ignores it because he knows perfectly well what physical reality is: a corpse, a dusty fossil, a frozen echo of his most past thoughts. Understand this, and you will free yourself today. Everything you see around you right now is already dead. Your current bank balance, your physical state, and your current relationship were created by the I am you had months or years ago. Matter is dense and slow. The quantum field responds instantly to your vibration, but manifestation in the three-dimensional world has a logical delay. It is what we call the time lag. If there were no time delay, if every thought manifested instantly in dense reality, you would already be dead. If you mistakenly thought of an elephant falling from the sky, it would crush you in a second. This delay is pure divine compassion. The time delay is your safety net. It gives you golden time to cancel destructive thoughts. It gives you time before they solidify. But it is also the trial by fire of your faith. It is the burning desert where most students give up. You plant the seed of your new identity today. You assume that you are wealth incarnate. You feel like a financial titan. But tomorrow you wake up, look at the phone, and a foreclosure notice arrives. The 3D hits you in the jugular. What does the slave of the senses do? He reacts. He gets scared. He starts to sweat cold. He says, "This doesn't work. Yesterday I felt like a millionaire and today they are charging me." The law of assumption is a cheap scam for fools. And he aborts his own miracle. By reacting emotionally to the bill, by allowing the fossil of the past to dictate how he should feel in his present, he has just injected new vital energy into the old reality. He has just resurrected the corpse. He has recreated his debt. You have entered a diabolical and repetitive loop. Your past creates your present. You react to your present with the same emotion of fear from the past. Therefore, your present reaction creates an exactly identical future, the infinite hamster wheel. The only way to break the wheel of material karma is to shove a steel stick into the spokes. That stick is the fasting of the senses. When the terrifying bill arrives, the sovereign creator looks at it. He knows he has to pay it in the physical world. He is not an irresponsible mystic living under a bridge. But while he makes the bank transfer, or while he calls the creditor to negotiate the debt, his internal state remains armored. His heart rate does not change at all. He tells no one about the bill so as not to give it strength. He does not complain about inflation or blame the capitalist system. He looks at the paper and says in his mind, "This is a harmless shadow of my old poverty consciousness. I'm no longer that person." He settles it administratively as a human. I settle it, but I flatly refuse to give it a single volt of my creative emotional energy. I am already abundance, and this paper is a simple printing error from the past. He pays and forgets the matter. He pays the bill in the 3D world, but in his internal quantum world, he remains sitting on his golden throne without moving a millimeter. He has masterfully separated the physical action from the emotional reaction. He has amputated the cable that connected him to the stimulus. That is truly hacking reality. It is becoming a spiritual cyborg. You require a terrifying cold-bloodedness. You have to learn to walk through the very hell of your current life. You must walk as if you were strolling through a garden in spring. Master Neville Goddard summarized it in a military discipline instruction. Ignore the evidence of the senses. He did not tell you to dress it up with positivism. He did not tell you to look for the good side of the disaster. He demanded that you ignore it completely. Turn your back on the physical mirror. If you have chronic physical pain, traditional medicine requires you to focus on it. Pain screams for your biological attention, but if you give it all your attention, if you define yourself as chronically ill, you are solidifying it. The fasting of the senses forces you to do the unthinkable. You feel the sharp pain in your knee, but you withdraw your quantum consciousness from that area. You refuse to identify the immaculate power of your I am with a simple inflamed tissue. You say, "The body of flesh is processing a natural alarm, but I am absolute perfection. My consciousness is safe, healthy, and vibrant." You do not fight against physical pain, because fighting is resistance, and resistance feeds the symptom. You simply take away your creative focus. You let it exist in the background as unimportant white noise, while you occupy your imagination with the sharp image of your body running, jumping, and moving with absolute agility. An absolute point of mastery will come, where you will hold this vision with such force that the pain will begin to fade in the 3D. And it will do so because you have cut off at the root the supply of quantum attention that kept it alive in matter. This radical practice requires you to develop what ancient mystics call double vision. You have a pair of eyes of flesh and a pair of quantum eyes. The eyes of flesh serve exclusively to not bump into the furniture when walking. They serve for the basic logistics of the primate, but for everything else, to create an empire, to decide who you are and what will materialize in your life. The eyes of flesh must be firmly shut. You only operate with your internal vision of certainty. When your friends ask you how your business on the verge of bankruptcy is doing, your eyes of flesh will see the empty offices, but your quantum vision will be seeing corporations billing millions. Your vocal response must be born from that second vision. You will tell them with a serene smile, "The business is in a restructuring process for a brutal expansion. Everything is arranging in my favor." You are not lying or deceiving anyone. You are prophesying. You are speaking from the future. Your friends, the slaves of the matrix who only believe in what they touch, will think you are crazy. They will think you are in clinical denial. They will tell you, "But you're not selling anything. Come down to earth. Be realistic." They will spit their logical poison at you. This is where your fasting of the senses must transform into a tungsten shield. Do not defend yourself. Do not try to convince them of the Hermetic laws. Do not waste valuable quantum energy debating with a blind man about the colors of a sunrise. Absolute silence is the insurmountable wall of the Creator. By not justifying yourself to the sheep, you keep all your power to roar like a lion in the invisible plain. Leave them with their withered reality while you water your hidden empire. But prepare yourself mentally for the wildest trap of this process. Prepare for the psychological phenomenon known as the extinction burst. It is the final defense mechanism the three-dimensional matrix has to avoid being reprogrammed. When you ignore a small child throwing a tantrum in the supermarket to call your attention, the child does not shut up immediately. Seeing that you ignore him calmly, the child screams twice as loud. He throws things on the floor and writhes with fury. The child increases the intensity of his bad behavior to an unbearable level before giving up and accepting he lost. That is called the extinction burst. The 3D reality of your life will do exactly the same when you take away your energy. When you decide to ignore your lack of money and assume wealth with total faith, prepare yourself. It is mathematically probable that in the coming weeks you will receive a colossal unexpected expense. The car engine will break. You will lose a fundamental client. The matrix is putting you to a trial by fire. It is throwing its quantum tantrum. It is screaming, "Look at me, I am real. You have to suffer for me. Give me back your vital energy, because without your fear, I cease to exist in time." It is a trap. The spiritual novice is terrified. He is terrified by the extinction burst. He cries and says, "Since I practiced metaphysics, I'm doing much worse. This is dangerous." And when he gives up, the matrix applauds. The novice becomes an alkaline battery to feed the system again. The sovereign creator, however, waits for the extinction burst sitting in his chair. He waits with a cold half-smile. He knows perfectly well that the sudden chaos is not a sign of divine failure, but the death certificate of the old system. When that giant fine or that absurd problem hits you, look it in its eyes and laugh in its three-dimensional face. Say out loud, "Nice try, old reality. I see your drowning tantrum. I know you are dying. I refuse to give you my attention." If you manage to keep your internal center of gravity intact during the extinction burst, if you do not yield a single millimeter of your faith before the material threat, the ultimate miracle occurs. The chaos suddenly collapses on itself. The matrix gives way, and suddenly the Red Sea opens wide. The calls you were waiting for begin to arrive on their own. Money flows through paths the logical mind would never have calculated. The entire universe physically kneels before the immovable will of the adept. It does not kneel out of religious piety. It kneels out of blind obedience to the physical law of resonance. You have proven that your internal frequency is made of diamond, more solid than the external illusion. You have earned the right to rewrite your architecture. But to reach that Olympus, you must train your senses as if they were attack dogs every single day. You must be a tyrant with what you let into your mind. You have to apply a ruthless filter to your daily information consumption. Stop watching the news immediately. Newscasts are heavy military machinery designed exclusively to inject terror, scarcity, and division into your subconscious. You invite misery to sleep in your bed. Stop following accounts on social media that promote cheap victimhood, economic complaint, or interpersonal drama. If your phone makes you feel anxious, jealous, or angry, you are consuming cyanide voluntarily. Delete, block, and purify. Your mental diet must be neat and high-end. Read the great masters. Study quantum mechanics. Listen to audios that raise your vibration to empire levels. Surround yourself only with concepts of wealth, expansion, beauty, and power. You are what you consume. If you are not capable of governing what enters through your eyeballs and eardrums, you will never be able to control what leaves your mind. The absolute mastery of the outside world begins by closing the borders of the inner world. Imagine that your mind is the most luxurious and sacred crystal palace in the galaxy. Its floors are of white marble and its pillars of pure gold. Would you let a group of beggars covered in mud vomit their misfortunes on your silk sofas? Of course not. You would put armed guards with orders to shoot at the main door, and yet you leave the door of your mind wide open so that the fear of the government, the envy of your neighbors, and the crisis of the country dirty your throne. The fasting of the senses is putting the Praetorian Guard at the door of your skull. It is declaring martial law in your psyche. Nothing enters without your express permission. If the thought does not vibrate at the exact frequency of your desire fulfilled, it is forbidden entry. With constant training, this exhausting mental effort will become your natural default state. You will walk through the streets witnessing chaos, but you will be walking inside an armored glass bubble. Your nervous system will remain unalterable, like a frozen lake in winter, while others panic. That is the true peace that passes human understanding. It is the tactical peace of the warrior who knows that war is a projection. You have passed the material trial by fire. You have learned to disconnect the plugs that joined you to the matrix. You have learned to turn your back on the physical mirror, to rewrite your own face from the depths of the source code. But now that you are blind to the physical illusion and have your attention like a laser on the quantum field, you need to understand economy. You need to understand how the economy of this new kingdom works. You cannot buy quantum realities with the currency of physical sweat. In the primitive 3D world, you tried to buy success with overwork, attrition effort, and physical suffering. In the quantum realm, that outdated currency is worth absolutely nothing. Chapter 5. The currency of the quantum realm. The relentless union of thought and electromagnetic emotion. You have learned to close your eyes of flesh. You have blocked the toxic trash of the trapped three-dimensional world. You have raised a wall of steel between your divine consciousness and the material matrix. You are safe in your inner palace, but being safe is not enough. You did not disconnect to float in the dark void of meditation. You disconnected so you could hack the machine, take the source code, and rewrite your destiny. Now you find yourself before the gates of the great quantum supermarket, an infinite space where all possible realities already exist simultaneously. The car of your dreams, perfect health, the financial empire. It is all there. You can see the timeline where you are a failure, and 1 millimeter away you can see the timeline where you are an absolute king. The menu of creation is infinite and is entirely at your disposal. But there is a logistical problem that stops 99% of metaphysics students in their tracks. They try to enter with the wrong currency. They carry three-dimensional monopoly bills. In the physical 3D world, you were taught that the currency of exchange was physical sweat. They told you, if you want to be rich, you have to break your back working 16 hours a day. You have to suffer. You have to bleed to deserve it. That is the greatest scam of the capitalist and moral system. If hard physical work and suffering were the currency that buys wealth, construction workers would be the most billionaire men on planet Earth. But they are not. Raw physical effort is the currency of slaves. It has absolutely no purchasing value in the realm of invisible matter. The quantum universe does not give a damn how many hours you worked. If you try to pay for your miracle with the currency of suffering, physical attrition, or personal sacrifice, the quantum cashier will look at you with total indifference. Your transaction will be rejected. Insufficient balance, invalid currency. You have to let go of that heavy bag of lead coins. Stop trying to bribe infinite intelligence. The universe does not reward pain, it rewards resonance. To acquire a new reality in the quantum field, you need to pay with the official currency of the realm. A currency that is not minted in central banks, nor earned with sweat. It is manufactured in your own electromagnetic biology. It is called conscious electromagnetism. It is the exact millimetric and explosive fusion of two elements you carry inside your body: electric thought and magnetic emotion. We are going to dissect this coin so that you never pay with counterfeit bills again. Let's start with the head of the coin, thought. Thought occurs in your brain. It is an electrical impulse. It is the architect of your reality. When you think, I want a business that bills $1 million, your brain has just emitted an electrical signal to the quantum field. You have just drawn the architectural blueprint of your desire. You have put the coordinates into the cosmic GPS. Thought is the direction. It tells the universal energy what exact shape it must take. Without a clear and defined thought, energy is just amorphous chaos. Your mental focus acts as a laser that cuts out the shape of your destiny. But this is where the positive thinking industry collapses. They told you it was enough to think about good things to attract them. They told you to repeat affirmations like a parrot in front of the mirror 100 times a day to be rich. And you did it. You repeated, I am a millionaire, until you ran out of saliva. And what happened? Absolutely nothing. Your bank account remained just as miserable, and you felt cheated by metaphysics. Why did it fail? Because thought alone has no power of attraction. The blueprint of a house, no matter how perfect and detailed the drawing is, does not raise the bricks by magic. A blueprint is only ink on paper. Electric thought sends the signal outward, but it lacks the gravitational force to drag the physical experience back to your 3D body. For that you need the tails of the coin, you need the magnet. And the magnet of your body is not in your head, it is in your chest. It is emotion. The human heart generates an electromagnetic field that is, according to science, 5,000 times more powerful than the field generated by the biological brain. Emotion is energy in motion. It is the quantum gravitational force. When you experience an intense emotion, your heart becomes a gigantic electromagnet that begins to pull toward you the experiences that resonate with that emotion. Here is the supreme secret of manifestation, the real alchemy. Electric thought, brain, sends the order to the field saying what you want. Magnetic emotion, heart, acts as a vortex attracting that event toward you. If you have the thought of I am rich, but in your chest you feel the cold knot of anguish, the fear of debt, and the despair of not having money, you have just emitted a completely schizophrenic electromagnetic signal. The universe receives an electric message. The message says wealth, but it receives an overwhelming magnetic force that screams poverty and despair. Which do you think will win? The magnetism of the heart always crushes the electricity of the brain. The quantum field will ignore your parrot-like verbal affirmation and respond exclusively to the truth of your emotion. It will send you more situations that match your financial terror. It will send you more debt so that you continue to feel that anguish. That is why you failed in the past. Because you were trying to pay for a luxury item, abundance, with counterfeit currency, despair hidden under a fake smile. The universe counts your vibration. Visualizing your desire without feeling the emotion of having it is simply fantasizing. It is like watching a movie at the cinema. You see the protagonist drive a Ferrari, but you know you are sitting in a seat eating popcorn. It is not your life. For visualization to collapse the wave function, you have to stop being the spectator. You have to get into the screen. You have to associate yourself with the scene in the first person and feel the texture of the leather. You have to feel the weight of that imaginary steering wheel in your physical hands. You have to smell the perfume of your ideal partner. And above all, you have to trigger the exact emotion. You must trigger the emotion you would feel if that were happening physically in this second. That is the concept that Neville Goddard baptized as the feeling of the wish fulfilled. It is the most powerful and aggressive technique ever revealed to humanity. It is the master key that opens all the vaults of the universe. What would you feel if the goal you have been fighting for years were already a fait accompli? Would you feel euphoria? Maybe for the first 5 minutes. But after the initial euphoria, you would feel a gigantic relief. You would feel a heavy and serene calm. You would feel the absolute and normal conviction of possession. You would walk differently. Your breathing would be deeper and slower. Your shoulders would fall relaxed because the war is over. There is nothing left to fight for. You already have it. That feeling of relief, of silent victory, of glorious normalcy. That is the official currency of the quantum realm. That is the electromagnetic emotion with which you are going to pay at the cash register of the divine matrix. But the human ego, stubborn and blind, always demands proof first. The ego says, "First give me the $1 million in the physical so I can touch it, and I promise you that then I will feel the relief and gratitude of being rich." The ego wants to buy on credit. It wants to take the merchandise from the supermarket and pay later, but in Hermeticism and the law of assumption, the universe functions strictly as a prepaid vending machine. No credit. You cannot press the button for your favorite soda and wait for the can to fall before putting the coin in the slot. The machine does not work like that. If you do not insert the coin first, the internal mechanism is not activated. There is no miracle. You have to pay in advance. You have to feel the overwhelming emotion of victory before your physical eyes see a single proof of it. You have to laugh with joy in a completely empty room. To the rational mind, this seems like the behavior of a madman. Laughing alone. feeling powerful when your account is in the negative, celebrating a love when you are physically alone. Clinical society would call you delusional or psychotic. But the mystic knows that true psychosis is allowing dead 3D shadows to dictate your state. The mystic is not a madman. He is a hacker who has just understood how to invert the equation of time and space. He knows that if he manages to trick his brain into feeling that the desire has already occurred, the biological body will start producing the hormones of victory. His electromagnetic signature will change in real time. He will become a high-frequency antenna. And the quantum field, which does not distinguish between an emotion generated by an external event or by a vivid imagination, will be forced by pure physics to reorganize dense matter to match that new sustained electromagnetic signal. It is the unbreakable law of harmonic resonance. If two tuning forks are in the same room, and you strike one so it vibrates at a certain note, the second tuning fork will start to vibrate on its own, copying exactly the same invisible frequency of the first. You are the first tuning fork. Your sustained emotion of the wish fulfilled is the strike. The outside world is the second fork. At first it seems inert. It seems deaf to your internal vibration of wealth. But if you keep your note vibrating in an unbreakable way, if you refuse to lower your emotional frequency before the apparent temporary failure of the 3D world, the 3D world will have no choice but to start vibrating in your same golden note. Physical matter is slow and lazy, but it is completely submissive before a disciplined consciousness. It will curve before you. Doors will open. People you do not know will feel the irrational impulse to help you or buy your products. They will call your phone to offer you the contract of your life, and they will believe it was their idea. But you from the bridge of your mind will know the truth. You will know that you hacked their behavior from the invisible field using your magnetism. It is not witchcraft. It is not moral manipulation. It is the architecture of the quantum network in which we are all intertwined. You alter the currents of all connected nodes. But to sustain this vibratory note, you must exterminate the worst enemy of creative emotion. Despair, the state of compulsive need, the famous, "I need it now because if not, my life is over and I won't be able to pay this month's bills." Need is the most dangerous counterfeit currency. It is radioactive poison for your manifestations. When you operate from need, you are affirming in every cell of your body, "I don't have it." And that declaration of lack cancels any affirmation. The universe smells your despair. It smells your fear. When you pursue a goal with anxiety and suffocation, the goal will flee from you at the same speed. Pursuit validates distance. If you are pursuing it, it is because you don't have it. The sovereign creator pursues nothing. The creator sits on his throne, assumes the state of absolute possession, and allows things, people, and riches to gravitate toward him by their own magnetic weight. The lion does not run desperately after flies. The lion emanates power. The lion attracts its prey. You have to learn the elegance of quantum stillness. You have to let go of the claws of attachment. You have to be willing to live without your desire in order to have it. This is the paradox of detachment. You have to want it with all the electrical passion of your brain, but detach from the result. You must know with cold certainty that your life is already complete in the sacred present moment. The best technique to transmute poisonous despair into cosmic legal tender is the tactical use of gratitude. But not the religious gratitude of saying, "Thanks for the food." I speak of anticipated quantum gratitude. Gratitude is the definitive emotional signature of reception. In the primitive 3D world, you only say thank you after someone hands you a physical gift in your hands. Gratitude marks the end point of a successful transaction on Earth. Therefore, if you dare to feel a deep, overwhelming gratitude right now, you are hacking your system. You are tricking the brain into decreeing that the event has already finished. If you say thank you, Father, because it is already done, and you say it with tears of relief in your eyes, you have just printed the highest denomination currency of the universe. You have just paid the cosmic restaurant bill and left a gigantic tip. The universe receives that magnetic wave of gratitude and says, "The user is thanking intensely. That means the event has already occurred. Let's proceed to update the 3D screen immediately to match the internal hard drive record." Tonight, when you go to sleep, you are going to make your first official quantum transaction. You are going to apply what Neville called the state akin to sleep, SATS. You are going to wait for that moment where you are half asleep, physically relaxed, but mentally alert. In that border between the waking world and deep sleep, the subconscious mind is completely open, without the security guard of the rational intellect. It is the hour of maximum creative fertility. It is the moment to deposit the coin in the slot. Do not think about your problem. Do not look for logical solutions. Take a single image, a 5-second scene that implies your desire has already been fulfilled. A handshake closing the deal, a ring on your finger, the sound of a deposit. Repeat that short scene in your mind, over and over. Give it color, give it sound. Feel the physical texture in your imagination. And while you repeat it like a loop, evoke the electromagnetic explosion of relief and gratitude in the center of your chest. Breathe that emotion. Flood yourself with it. Bathe the electrical image. Bathe it with your cardiac magnetism until the scene feels more real than the bed you are lying in, until you feel it is not a dream, but a memory of something you already lived today. And then, fall asleep inside that feeling of victory. Let that coin be deposited in the vault of your subconscious mind during the 8 hours. Tomorrow you will wake up feeling different. You will wake up as the rightful owner of that reality. You will have paid the price in advance. You will have let go of your old self and bought your new identity. From that moment, your inner work is finished. You have collapsed the quantum wave. The energy baby has been conceived. But this is where 99% of beginners ruin their own work of art. The day after paying the coin, they wake up, look at the physical world, and not seeing the Ferrari parked magically at the door, they panic and dig up the seed. They do not understand that the universe has to deploy the logistical bridge of matter. This is known as Neville Goddard's Bridge of Incidence. It is a terrifying bridge, chaotic and often painful. It is the series of events orchestrated by infinite intelligence to force you to walk from your current misery to your golden throne. And sometimes, the first step of that bridge is the destruction of your comfort zone. For your new empire to be born, your old mud huts have to be demolished by the bulldozers of fate. In Chapter 6, The Bridge of Incidence, I am going to teach you how to survive the demolition of your old life without losing mathematical faith. I will reveal why your life usually falls apart just after applying the law. I will teach you how to stand firm in the storm, knowing that material chaos is simply the universe, arranging the furniture to the measure of your new crown. Prepare your discipline, because the real battle is not desiring success. It is having the stomach of steel to endure the physical metamorphosis. It entails receiving it. Chapter 6, The Bridge of Incidence. How to operate in time and space when everything seems to go backward. You have paid the price in advance. You have gone to bed with the overwhelming gratitude of victory. The quantum coin has been deposited in the vault of your subconscious mind. The contract is signed and sealed in the invisible world. You wake up the next day. You open your eyes of flesh. You get out of bed feeling like an emperor. You have the mathematical certainty vibrating in your chest. You know that your desire is already a non-negotiable fact. And then the unthinkable happens. Instead of a briefcase full of money falling from the sky, or the love of your life knocking on your door, your entire life explodes into 1,000 pieces. Absolute chaos breaks out. You go to your job, the one you didn't like but gave you security, and you are fired without warning. You arrive home seeking comfort, and your partner tells you they want a divorce. You check your mail, and you have a legal lawsuit. Primitive panic grabs you by the throat. The suffocation is total. Your ego starts screaming hysterically. I told you so. Metaphysics is a scam. Yesterday you asked for abundance, and today you have lost absolutely everything. You fall to your knees. You cry. You curse the quantum field. You regret having tried to be a sovereign creator, and you wish to return to your safe mediocrity. You have just committed the most tragic error. It is the most common error of beginners. You have interpreted the necessary demolition of your old prison as if it were a divine punishment. You have not understood the most aggressive and perfect mechanics of the law of assumption. You have not understood the architecture of the universe. Welcome to the Bridge of Incidence. Master Neville Goddard baptized this terrifying phenomenon as such. It is the series of physical, logical, and often painful events that the universe orchestrates to lead you to your destiny. Infinite intelligence does not do cheap magic. It does not teleport objects by violating the laws of three-dimensional physics. The quantum field uses the natural channels of the human world to materialize your request. When you assume a new gigantic reality, the universe says, "Granted, the destination is set. But you are at point A, and your desire is at point B." The universe has to build a bridge of events between both points. That bridge is paved with incidents. And here is the golden rule that you must tattoo on your brain. Incidents almost never look like miracles at first. The vast majority of the time, they look like absolute disasters. Think about it with structural logic. You have asked to build a 100-story skyscraper, your new life of wealth and power, but you currently live in a hut of rotten mud, your comfort zone and your slave identity. The universe, which is the chief engineer, arrives on the site with its cranes. What is the first thing it has to do to build your skyscraper? It has to put dynamite in your mud hut and blow it up. It has to clear the ground. You see the explosion. You see your hut destroyed. You see the dust and the debris. And because you are addicted to your miserable hut, you cry. You shout, "My house, I've been left on the street." You don't see the skyscraper. You only see the demolition. If you ask for $1 million business, the universe cannot give it to you. It cannot give it to you while you remain tied to an 8-hour job that consumes your energy. So the universe intervenes. It makes your boss hate you and fire you in the most humiliating way. The firing is not a failure of your manifestation. The firing is the first concrete block of the bridge of incidents. It is the universe giving you a kick in the butt to get you out of a place that no longer matches your new vibration. If you ask for a relationship based on unconditional love and absolute respect, but you are sleeping with a toxic person to whom you cling out of fear of loneliness, the universe has to purge your environment violently. Suddenly you discover an infidelity, or the person abandons you cruelly. Your heart breaks, your ego suffers, but that breakup is the bridge. It is the forced evacuation of a tenant who was occupying the space of your king or queen. The sovereign creator understands this cosmic violence. When chaos breaks out after a powerful assumption, the adept does not cry. The adept smiles coldly. He knows that the dynamite is the irrefutable proof that the order was received. The problem is your addiction to control. You want to dictate the how to the universe. You want to become a millionaire, but you demand it be through a lottery ticket. You want it that way so you don't have to be inconvenienced. The universe laughs at your limited plans. The quantum field has an eagle's eye perspective of the entire timeline. You have the perspective of an ant walking on the ground. The universe sees mathematical shortcuts that would seem like absurd detours to you. Perhaps you have to go bankrupt financially, so that you are forced to move cities, so that in that new city you go to a cheap cafe, where you will spill your drink on the coat of the investor who will finance your empire. If you, with your ant mind, try to avoid bankruptcy because you are afraid, you are sabotaging the meeting in the cafe. You are trying to derail the train of destiny. Your attempt to protect yourself is what keeps you in ruin. The non-negotiable rule of the bridge of incidents is non-interference. Once you have assumed the final state, you are forced to walk across the bridge that appears in front of you, without questioning the route and without panicking. Even when you feel driven to do things that seem illogical. Neville Goddard said that under the state of assumption, your actions cease to be acts of free will. You become an actor moved by invisible threads. This is called inspired action or forced movement. Suddenly you feel an irrational urge to call an old friend, or you take a different route to get home. You didn't calculate it, you simply did it by inertia. That impulse did not come from your logical mind, it came from your I am. It came from the final state that is pulling you toward itself like a giant magnet. Every little forced movement is a gear turning in your manifestation machine. But if your fearful ego takes control and says, "No, I'm not going to call that person, how embarrassing," or "I'm not going to take that route, it's longer," you are breaking the wheel. You are fighting with the chief engineer in the middle of the construction site. You have to develop a cast-iron stomach to cross the bridge. Most people chicken out halfway. They see that savings are going down, that people are leaving them, that the pressure is rising, and they run back to the mud hut. They retreat. They settle for their mediocre job. They call their toxic ex-partner again. They cancel their divine assumption because they couldn't stand the tension. They are abortionists of their own miracles. To avoid committing this quantum suicide, you must anchor yourself in the law of indifference. No matter how terrifying the external circumstance, the 3D, seems, you maintain total indifference toward the apparent catastrophe. You look at the termination letter and say, "Interesting way of moving the pieces, universe. I don't know how this leads to my millions, but I know it does. I keep walking." You don't complain. You don't resist. You don't victimize yourself. You flow with the strength of the river. Remember the parable of the Chinese farmer. The maybe is the ultimate wisdom. When the bridge of incidents breaks your leg, do not judge the event as bad. You do not have the full information. The quantum field orchestrates the incidents using the path of least resistance. If the universe has to move 10,000 people on Earth for you to get your desire, it will do it. It will do it in the most efficient and lethal way possible. You are the focal point of your own reality. All the other actors in your three-dimensional hologram will play the role that you have subconsciously assigned to them to fulfill your script. They are extras in your movie. If you need someone to be unfair to you, so that you have the impulse to quit and found your company, the universe will put selfishness in that person's heart. That person will act like a tyrant, believing they are exercising their free will. But in reality, that person is under the compulsion of your assumption. They are playing the perfect villain that you needed for your metamorphosis. That is why in Chapter 9, I forced you to forgive them. They were not your enemies. They were your cosmic employees. This absolute understanding frees you from hatred and guilt. It frees you from the need for revenge. When someone stabs you in the back during the bridge of incidents, you don't stab them back. You thank them in silence for the push. You advance. You always advance, with your eyes fixed only on the final result that you already experienced in your imagination. You walk through the fire of the material world. You walk knowing that the flames are only holographic projections. They cannot burn you. Sometimes the bridge of incidents lasts a few hours. Sometimes it lasts weeks. In goals of titanic proportions, where very deep beliefs of scarcity must be restructured, the bridge can take months or even years to cross. Here your mastery over time comes into play. The ego counts the days. The ego says, "I've been assuming wealth for 3 months and I'm still eating rice." This is a lie. The ego is a slave to the clock and the calendar. The sovereign creator lives in the eternity of the present moment. He knows time is an illusion. He knows it is a metric illusion of the third dimension. If you truly know that you already have your desire on the invisible plane, the rush disappears completely. If you have a gold bar in a Swiss bank safe in your name, does it stress you out not to have it in your pocket today? No, because you know it's yours. You have the papers. You have the certainty. You are relaxed in your abundance. Haste is the vibrational signature of doubt. If you are in a hurry, it is because you fear it won't arrive. And if you fear it won't arrive, you have just issued the cancellation order to the quantum field. Urgency destroys the bridge while you walk on it. You must walk with the elegance of someone who needs nothing from the outside world. If you are fired, you look for work or you undertake, but you do it with an attitude of royalty. You don't beg in interviews. You don't lower your prices out of desperation. This attitude of unbreakable power is what bends the matrix. The matrix attacks you with chaos to see if your new I am is real, or if it was just a pretty weekend meditation. It is a stress test of the system. If in the face of the 3D attack you maintain your posture, your slow breathing, and the certainty of your assumption, the matrix recognizes the code has been rewritten, and then the walls of Jericho fall. Suddenly the bridge ends. The chaotic incidents align perfectly in a puzzle that leaves you breathless. Everything takes on a crushing meaning. You see how the pain, the loss, and the humiliation were precise gears. You discover that if you hadn't been humiliated that day, you wouldn't have met the key person. If you hadn't lost that money, you wouldn't have learned the investment lesson. Infinite intelligence just gave you a 5D chess lesson. You sit in your new glass office, or you wake up next to the person you truly love. You look back at the bridge of fire and you laugh. You laugh at your own initial panic. You marvel at the engineering of God in you, but to reach that shore, your behavior during the crossing must be impeccable. You cannot complain. You cannot talk about your temporary problems with your friends as if they were permanent. Silence is your best tactical shield. When you share your chaos with sleeping people, they inject you with their collective fear. They will tell you, "How unlucky you are, sue that person, get depressed with me." They will try to drag you to the lower deck of the ship to cry. Keep your mouth shut. As the ancient alchemical texts say, to know, to dare, to will, and to be silent. Silence protects the incubation of your miracle. Do not open the quantum oven to see if the bread is already done, because you will ruin the temperature. Let the machinery work in the dark. You occupy yourself exclusively with keeping the electromagnetic coin of the wish fulfilled vibrating in your chest every day. That is your only job, to hold the musical note of your victory. Even when the evidence of the senses shouts defeat at you, especially when the evidence shouts defeat. The value of your faith is measured by the amount of physical contradictions you can endure without breaking your internal state. Steel is not tempered with lukewarm water. It is tempered by passing it from extreme fire to extreme ice. Thus is forged the mind of an impregnable creator. Give thanks for the fire of the bridge, because it is burning away your last slave impurities. You are crossing. There is no turning back. The old hut is ashes, and the skyscraper is in sight. You have mastered the art of not interfering in the how, and you have released the primitive need to control time and space. But here, just when you are about to receive the keys to your empire, the penultimate great human blockage arises. You already have the thought, you already have the faith, you already crossed the bridge, but the long-term emotional gasoline is missing. The combustion engine that will keep this empire running without you self-sabotaging at the top is missing. Many reach the top but get dizzy and throw themselves off the balcony. Chapter 7. Emotion is the engine, faith is the steering wheel. The relentless marriage between structured thought and the energy of the heart. You have reached a point of no return. You already know the architecture of reality. You already know that faith is a mathematical certainty and not a cowardly hope. You have learned to ignore the physical mirror of the three-dimensional world. You have crossed the terrifying bridge of incidents without breaking your will. Your mind is now a sharp scalpel, capable of dissecting the source code of the universe. You have become a scholar of metaphysics. But this is where the intellectuals fall. This is where spiritual bookworms die of frustration. They have all the theory in their heads. They know the books by heart. They repeat the universal laws perfectly. And yet, their lives remain pathetically ordinary. Their bank accounts are empty, their bodies are sick, their relationships are a failure. Why does the universe not obey them if they have the right thought? Because they have forgotten the centerpiece of the human machinery. They have built a perfect vehicle with a racing chassis. They have sat in the driver's seat. They have their hands firm on the steering wheel. But the car does not move an inch, no matter how much they turn the steering wheel of faith, no matter how clear their mental direction is. The vehicle is dead. Why? Because it has no engine, there is no internal combustion. Cold intellect, pure logic, and structured thought are absolutely sterile on their own. The universe does not speak Spanish, or English, or mathematics. The universe does not understand the words of your empty affirmations. The language of the quantum field is electromagnetism. Your brain is the electric pole, your heart is the magnetic pole. Magnetism is what drags matter toward you. Emotion is energy in motion. It is the high-octane gasoline that makes the pistons of your reality explode. It is brute force. It is the roaring engine of your quantum vehicle. If you repeat 100 times a day, "I am a powerful leader," but in your chest you feel apathy, you are stationary. You are turning the wheel of a car that is turned off. You look ridiculous. You are not going anywhere. Faith, your intellectual certainty and mental focus, is the steering wheel. It gives you the exact direction. It keeps you on the road and prevents you from falling off the cliff. But emotion is what gives you speed and impact force. The tragedy of humanity is divided into two large groups of failures. The first group is the sterile intellectuals. They hold the wheel tightly. They know where they want to go, but they have a phobia of feeling deep emotions. They are afraid to be passionate. They live in their heads. They calculate everything. They repress their internal fire because they believe that feeling too much makes them vulnerable. Since their engine is off, their life is a flat line. They manifest in drops. The second group is infinitely more dangerous. They are the drama addicts. These people have a 1,000-horsepower engine. They feel everything with brutal intensity. They cry, love, hate, and become passionate to the point of madness. Their chest is a nuclear reactor of constant emotions. They have infinite fuel, but they have no hands on the wheel. They completely lack the mental discipline of faith. They have no direction, no focus, no control of their I am. They are out of control. What happens when you floor the accelerator of a 1,000-horsepower car without touching the wheel? You shoot off chaotically. You crash into walls. You run over people. You destroy your own life in a spectacle of fire and blood. These people manifest chaos at a terrifying speed. They attract toxic partners one after another. They generate fast money and lose it the next day. Their life is a roller coaster of epic tragedies because their engine has no direction. The sovereign creator, the true adept, belongs to neither of these two groups of victims. The adept is the elite pilot who has achieved the ultimate nuclear fusion, the sacred marriage of mind and heart. He takes his seat. He grips the wheel of his faith with unbreakable strength. He fixes his eyes on the final destination, and then he turns on the engine of his emotions in a deliberate, conscious, and aggressive way. He floors the accelerator. Modern science calls this perfect fusion brain-heart coherence. This is when brainwaves, the electrical command of your desire, synchronize with your heartbeat, the emotion of gratitude or victory. In that state of coherence, you cease to be a human reacting to the environment and become a cosmic-grade transmitting antenna. The signal you emit is so clear and dense that matter must bend. But mastering this fusion requires dismantling another biological lie that keeps you enslaved. You have been taught that emotions are automatic and uncontrollable reactions triggered by external stimuli. You think you need something good to happen in the physical world to feel joy. You think you need money to feel abundance. You are Pavlov's dog, salivating only when the bell rings. You live under the tyranny of the environment. If the day is grey and your boss looks at you poorly, your emotional engine turns off or fills with fear. You are waiting for the monitor screen, the 3D, to dictate how you should feel inside. The sovereign creator reverses this. He reverses this chain of command with a beautiful brutality. He does not wait for the fire to light itself. He is the pyromaniac of his own soul. He generates the emotion from absolute void, without any external excuse. That is the true power of God in you. The ability to close your eyes in a dark room and generate euphoria. Generate a state of wealth and power so massive that your biology believes you are already an emperor. Your body does not know the difference between a real experience in the 3D world and a vividly imagined experience in your mind. If you manage to feel the emotion with intensity, your body produces the same chemicals and hormones. You are hacking your own internal pharmacy. If you produce the neuropeptides of wealth and power through pure imagination, your electromagnetic frequency changes in real time. You start vibrating like a king before having the castle, and here is where the law of assumption becomes a guillotine for your old life. The universe, scanning your new electromagnetic field, notices a serious anomaly. Your vibration is of wealth, but your physical environment is of poverty. Nature abhors a vacuum and detests dissonance. To correct this mathematical error, the quantum field is forced to materialize the external circumstances that match your signature. But for this hack to work, you must learn to choose your fuel with engineering precision. Not all emotions serve to build a lasting empire. There are dirty fuels and jet fuels. Fear, anger, and revenge are very high-power fuels. Many billionaires and leaders built fortunes using the rage of having been poor or humiliated. They used hate as gasoline. It works. Anger is a brutal creative energy because it makes you take massive action. It pulls you out of depression. But it is a dirty fuel. It is dense, corrosive, and highly toxic for the biological machinery that processes it. If you drive with rage and resentment, you will reach the top, yes. You will have money and power. But the engine will eventually burn out. You will die of a heart attack, develop cancer, or end up absolutely alone. Anger destroys the chassis of your body while propelling you forward. That is why I forced you to forgive. We cannot use dirty fuel if we want to govern long-term with health and peace. We need jet fuel, the cleanest, most powerful and refined fuel in the universe. High-frequency emotions, anticipated gratitude, deep relief, creative passion, and serene certainty. When you feel absolute relief because you know your problem is solved on the quantum plane, that emotion flows through your veins like a perfect lubricant. It heals your cells while magnetizing your desire. It is pure magic. The problem is that invoking these high-frequency emotions requires a titanic effort of focus. Your brain is addicted to stress chemistry. It finds it 1,000 times easier to feel panic than to feel peace when there is pressure. To turn on the engine of anticipated gratitude when surrounded by debt, you have to use the steering wheel of your faith like an iron lever. You have to force your mind to look away from the three-dimensional abyss. It is not an exercise of weakness. It is an effort of spiritual brute force. You sit in silence. You force your breathing to calm down. You take the image of your desire fulfilled and hold it in the center of your mind with tooth and nail. Doubt will try to come in through the windows. Fear will knock on the hood of the car. Your ego will scream that you are wasting time. You ignore everything. You keep your eyes fixed on the vision. And you start pumping the emotion from your stomach. You look for the feeling of it is finished. You ask yourself, how would I walk? How would I breathe? How would I look at the world if this were already a physical reality? And you put on that emotional suit by force. At first it will feel fake. You will feel like a cheap actor. It is normal. You are using electromagnetic muscles that have been atrophied for decades. You are taking the car out of a dark garage. Do not give up in this phase of friction. Fake the emotion until a real spark is lit. Move your body. Lift your chin. Physically smile even if you don't feel like it. Posture sends signals to your brain. Suddenly it will happen. After several minutes of sustained concentration, the spark will jump. You will feel a genuine heat in your chest. You will feel an enormous weight lift from your shoulders. A true smile will appear on your face. The engine has just started. Clean fuel is flowing through the pistons. In that magical instant, you stop faking. The emotion envelops you. You feel invincible, prosperous, and absolutely secure. You are in a state of grace. Now, with the engine roaring and the wheel firmly gripped, you are collapsing the quantum wave at a dizzying speed. You are emitting an irreversible order in the cosmic supermarket. But your job as a pilot does not end with turning on the car in your meditation garage. The adept's true challenge is keeping the engine running while navigating real-world traffic for the next 24 hours. Many students achieve this fusion in their room in the morning. They get up feeling like gods. But they go out, hit a traffic jam, and in 5 seconds lose their temper and fill with rage. They turn off the high-frequency engine and turn on the victim's engine. They lose control of the wheel. They become slaves to external stimuli again. Their manifestation is immediately aborted. They have destroyed the work of their meditation. To avoid this lethal self-sabotage, you must become the absolute guardian of your emotional state. Your vibratory frequency is your most valuable asset. It is your quantum bank account. You cannot allow any idiot to steal your energy. If someone insults you, if a client rejects you, if the 3D world throws trash at you, do not react. By reacting with anger or deep sadness, you are handing them the keys to your car. You are letting them drive your destiny toward the abyss. The sovereign responds. He does not react. The sovereign observes the world's chaos and says, "Interesting illusion, but I flatly refuse to lower my emotional RPM for this cheap circus. My energy is too expensive to spend here." You maintain your state of silent victory. You keep breathing from the abdomen. You keep feeling the certainty of your goal fulfilled, vibrating in your chest, like a glorious secret that only you know. You walk through the world with the smile of one who has already won. That state of emotional imperturbability drives energy vampires crazy and bends the matrix. When the matrix sees that its 3D attacks fail to turn off your gratitude engine, it gives up and opens the way for you. The mastery of this technique separates parlor magicians from true architects of reality. Anyone can read books about the law of assumption. Very few have the balls to sustain the emotion of success in the face of temporary failure. You must fall in love with the process of generating your own gasoline. You must become an addict to your own internal production of well-being. When you don't depend on the world, you are free. Your partner doesn't have to tell you they love you for you to feel loved. Your bank doesn't have to show you millions for you to feel abundant. Your boss doesn't have to validate you for you to feel like an absolute authority. You inject that validation directly into your veins from the source. You are the autonomous generator. By vibrating in that independent fullness, paradoxically, the outer world will run to validate you, love you, and pay you obscene amounts of money. It is the supreme irony of Hermeticism. The world only gives you what you have already given yourself on the invisible plane. The world is a mirror without its own initiative. It can only reflect the light you decide to emit from your internal lighthouse. If your lighthouse is off waiting for the sea to illuminate it, you will die in the darkness. Light the damn fire. Roar from your chest. Feel the victory before seeing it. Assume the emotion with the strength of a hurricane and do not let go for anything. With the wheel of your faith pointing to the absolute north and the engine of your emotion burning clean fuel at 10,000 RPM, your quantum vehicle is now unstoppable. You have broken the sound barrier of human limitation, but in this state of high speed, you must be very careful with the cracks in the road. When you are manifesting great empires, the ego, seeing that it can no longer scare you with frontal doubt, will use guerrilla tactics. It will try to sabotage your engine in incredibly subtle ways. It will try to convince you that you are being too confident. It will offer mediocre options so you settle for less. It will try to sell you the lethal idea of Plan B, the deadly trap of half measures. In the quantum realm, negotiating your desire is the kiss of death. If you bet on 2 horses, you will lose the race catastrophically. Chapter 8: Self-Sabotage and Half-Faith. You have ignited the engine of electromagnetic emotion. Your chest vibrates with the anticipated gratitude of a desire that is already yours. You have your hands firm on the steering wheel of mathematical faith. Your vision is fixed on the horizon of your new reality. You are flooring the quantum accelerator. The engine roars with immense power, but you notice something strange. The vehicle is not moving at the speed of light. There is a terrible friction. You smell burning rubber and smoke coming from the tires. You are wearing yourself out. The journey toward your manifestation feels heavy, exhausting, and frustrating. What is failing if you already have the perfect theory? Look down at your feet. You are stepping on the accelerator, yes, but you have your other foot slammed on the brake. Welcome to the dark and subtle world of self-sabotage. Welcome to the undetectable poison that destroys 99% of manifestors just meters from the finish line. Today we are going to dissect the deadly disease of half-faith. Materialistic society has infected you with a psychological virus they call prudence. They have taught you since you were a child to be cautious. They have told you until exhaustion, don't put all your eggs in one basket. They have convinced you that to be a responsible adult, you must always have a safety net. They demand that you pursue your dreams, but keep one foot firm in reality just in case things go wrong. That is the advice of the mediocre. In the three-dimensional world of slaves, that advice sounds logical and reasonable. It protects your ego from disappointment. But in the world of quantum mechanics and advanced metaphysics, that advice is a death warrant signed by yourself. Quantum physics teaches us the principle of superposition. As long as there is no definitive observation, particles exist in all possible states at once. Absolute success and resounding failure coexist in the invisible field. The wave function only collapses into solid and specific matter when your observation, your faith, is unique, unidirectional, and devoid of ambiguity. The quantum field requires a binary, clear order without interference in order to crystallize. What happens when you have a plan B? What happens when you say, I'm going to try this business, but if it doesn't work in 6 months, I'll go back to my old job? You have just introduced a schizophrenic code into the universe's computer. You are telling infinite intelligence, I order you to make me a millionaire entrepreneur. But because in the depths of my soul I know I am incompetent and that you are not going to obey me, here are the coordinates of my past misery to return to. The universe reads your predominant vibration, and your plan B is not a simple logistical safety net. It is a gigantic and noisy electromagnetic declaration of terror. It is mathematical proof that you do not believe in your plan A. Your lack of absolute faith generates a magnetic force that drags reality toward failure. The universe obeys your plan B because it is the only plan you truly believe will happen. You yourself build the wall to crash safely. Having a plan B is playing cosmic roulette with fear. It is putting one chip on the wealth square and another on the bankruptcy square to protect yourself. The quantum dealer laughs at you. The house always wins when the player is afraid. For the law of assumption to operate with creative violence, the universe demands an ultimatum. You have to push all your chips to the center of the table without your pulse trembling. You have to bet your entire life on a single number. This leads us to the ancient military tactic of burning the ships. When the conqueror arrives in a new and hostile land, he knows that if his soldiers see the ships anchored on the coast, at the first sign of danger, they will flee cowardly toward the sea. To guarantee victory, the leader orders his own ships burned. While the wood burns and sinks into the ocean, the soldiers understand the new mathematical reality. There is no longer a safety net. Either they conquer and win or they die on the sand. That tactical desperation, that absolute elimination of retreat, awakens a superhuman force in the spirit. When your brain knows there is no option of failure, it deactivates the panic mechanisms and activates the codes of pure genius. You are not manifesting the life of your dreams because you have your ships intact, anchored in the port of your mind, ready to rescue you when the friction of the 3D becomes uncomfortable. You have an escape route. You are a tourist of metaphysics. You ask for a loyal and sacred marriage, but you keep your toxic ex's number in your phone just in case you feel lonely on a Sunday. That number in your contact list is your unburned ship. It is your half-faith rotting your new assumption. You ask for infinite financial abundance, but when you receive your salary, you hide it and hoard it with atrocious panic. You count every cent with terror that it will run out. Your greed born of panic cancels your vibration of expansive wealth. You are sending a contradictory signal. You claim to be a king of wealth, but you secretly behave like a beggar who fears the winter. The universe does not listen to your morning affirmations. The universe listens to your midnight financial terror. Self-sabotage is not an external monster attacking you in the dark. Self-sabotage is your own ego trying to keep its old victim identity alive. Your ego prefers to be a predictable failure than a god facing the unknown. Absolute success terrifies your primitive psyche much more than failure. If you fail, you already know the script perfectly. You cry, you complain about the system, you seek sympathy from friends, and you continue inhabiting your comfortable cave of limitations. But if you truly succeed, you are left without excuses. If you assume power and create an empire, suddenly you are solely responsible. Success strips you bare. It forces you to operate at a level of excellence and pressure that makes your lazy mind dizzy. That is why, just when you are about to close that million-dollar contract, you mysteriously oversleep or say something stupid in the meeting. Your ego slammed the emergency brake to save you. It wants to save you from the danger of becoming a successful person. Just when you are in the healthiest relationship of your life, you start looking for non-existent flaws in your partner. You start absurd fights over nothing. Your ego is sabotaging peace because it is addicted to war and the chemical drama of abandonment. You have to observe this destructive mechanism with the cold blood of a scientist. Do not feel guilty for self-sabotaging. Guilt is another low-frequency trap. Simply detect the pattern. Catch yourself hitting the brake. The language you use daily is the most precise indicator of your half-faith. There is a word you must eradicate from your vocal cords if you want to govern your reality. It is the most subtle and accepted poison by human society. The word try. I'm going to try to exercise. I'm going to try to earn more money. He who tries has already programmed the margin for error. He has programmed the justification for his failure before taking the first physical step. The word try implies cowardice. It gives you psychological permission to give up when the bridge of incidents becomes difficult. The sovereign creator tries absolutely nothing. The sovereign decrees, executes, and materializes. You don't try to breathe. You simply breathe because it is a non-negotiable biological assumption. You don't try to make your heart beat. It beats by law. You must apply that same crushing naturalness and that same certainty, absent of effort, to your manifestations. You have to burn the word try and replace it with certainty. You do it or you don't. If you decide not to, You assume the responsibility with honor. If you decide to do it, you cross the line of no return, and the word failure disappears from your dictionary. Another lethal symptom of half-faith is the compulsive need to seek external validation. When you are assuming a new quantum reality, your insecurity drives you to tell your big plans to friends and family, so they approve. You want them to tell you that you are on the right track. You want them to applaud the idea. But by opening your mouth, you commit a tactical error of epic magnitudes. You are subjecting a fragile energetic fetus to the toxic radiation of others' skepticism. Your friends, operating from their own three-dimensional limitations and fears, will tell you to be realistic. They will warn you of risks. They will project their personal failures onto your vision. They will sow doubt in your field. That is why the great Hermetic texts demand death-like silence. Your manifestation must be incubated in the darkroom of your own mind, isolated from 3D contamination. Seeking external validation is confessing that you do not believe your own I am. If you truly had mathematical certainty, you wouldn't need to convince. If your desire were already a quantum fact, you wouldn't feel the anxiety to convince anyone. You wouldn't go down the street shouting you are going to be a millionaire. You would simply walk with the secret smiling on your lips. The obsession with signs from the universe is another form of self-sabotage. Metaphysics students become neurotic, looking for repeating numbers on clocks or butterflies, or cheap synchronicities to confirm their manifestation is near. Seeking external signs is the sworn declaration of doubt. It is begging the 3D monitor to confirm the processor is working. He who knows he is the king does not ask a slave to confirm his authority. The king simply reigns. If you see a sign, you smile. If you see no sign for months, you smile exactly the same. Your internal state is not altered by the presence or absence of three-dimensional confetti. Your faith is autonomous. It requires no empirical crutches to stand. You have to become radically intolerant of your own justifications. Your ego is a brilliant lawyer who will defend you to keep you in misery. It will tell you, "It's just that I can't burn this economic ship because I have a family to feed." It uses love for your family as a shield for its own cowardice. If you truly loved your family, you wouldn't give them the crumbs of a frightened slave. You would give them the empire of an awakened creator. The greatest gift is your own absolute sovereignty. Self-sabotage often disguises itself. It disguises itself as waiting for the perfect moment. You say you will apply the law, launch your project, or change your life when the stars align, the economy improves, or you feel 100% secure. That perfect moment does not exist in the physics of this universe. The perfect moment is an illusion created by the fear of jumping. The conditions of the material world will always be imperfect, noisy, and chaotic. Waiting for the calm is waiting for death. You have to jump with the engine running and faith sharpened in the middle of the storm. You have to collapse the wave in the middle of the sound of bullets. Mastery is not demonstrated in a silent monastery. It is demonstrated in the chaos of the financial market. Demand from your mind a level of commitment that borders on madness in the eyes of mortals. Total commitment means vision is authority. It means that if the 3D contradicts you, the 3D is the one that is wrong. Imagine a tightrope walker walking a wire 100 meters high without a safety net. If the tightrope walker has a mental plan B of how he will fall if he slips, his body will lose perfect tension. His doubt will cause the fatal fall. The tightrope walker survives solely and exclusively because his mind is fixed on the arrival platform. His brain does not process the fall as a possible mathematical option. That absolute exclusion of failure is what maintains his perfect balance. You have to walk the wire of your life with that same coldness. There is no net below. There is no return to the old hut because you already dynamited it. There is no ship back because you already burned it on the coast. You only have your feet, the wire, and the final destination. Feel the vertigo. That vertigo is not anxiety. It is the adrenaline of divinity. It is the price of entry to the club of architects of quantum reality. When you systematically eliminate all your plan Bs, when you tear up your safety nets and stand naked before the quantum field, an explosion of efficiency occurs. The universe recognizes your non-negotiable ultimatum. The energy field, detecting no escape route in your frequency, is forced by its own laws to condense your desire in the physical plane at dizzying speed. You have taken away its option not to obey you. Lift your foot off the brake right now. Stop contradicting your own light. If you are going to love, love with a fury and vulnerability that scares cowards. If you are going to generate wealth, generate obscene and grotesque levels of money without apologizing to anyone. Accept that you deserve everything by the simple right of existing as an extension of infinite intelligence. You don't have to earn heaven with suffering. Heaven is your natural default state when you stop sabotaging your own genetic code. You have dismantled self-sabotage. You have burned the ships. You have ripped out the handbrake, and the quantum car is accelerating toward your goal. But prepare yourself, because you are about to enter the darkest and loneliest phase of the entire alchemical process. Once you remove the distractions of fear and doubt, you face a deathly silence in the three-dimensional world. It is the waiting time. It is the arid desert between vibrational sowing and physical harvest. And in that desert, the echo drives you crazy. Many warriors who survived the bloodiest battles of the ego end up surrendering here, defeated by the pure desperation of cosmic silence. They do not know how to operate in the darkness when it seems that God has forgotten them. Chapter 9. Faith in the Darkness. The moment of breaking and the silence of matter. You have done the hard work. You have burned the ships and murdered doubt. You have paid with the currency of electromagnetism and planted the seed in the quantum field. Your mind is aligned. Your heart beats with the certainty of victory. You expect the universe to bow immediately before you, and yet absolutely nothing happens. You open your eyes and the world remains exactly the same. The three-dimensional silence is deafening. Days pass, weeks pass, and the physical miracle is nowhere to be seen. Welcome to the desert. Welcome to the final trial by fire of quantum creation. This is the sacred and terrifying space that separates invisible conception from material birth. It is here that 99% of miracles die. It is the graveyard of great intentions. People do not fail because they do not know how to desire. They fail because they cannot endure the darkness of the waiting time. You have been spoiled by instant gratification. You live in a society where you press a button and food arrives at your door. You want the universe to work like a mobile phone application. But the architecture of reality does not obey your childish impatience. Physical matter has immense density. It is slow, it is heavy, and it requires a non-negotiable gestation period. The anatomy of quantum silence. When you issue an order to the quantum field with absolute faith, the invisible reality rearranges itself in a nanosecond. In the fifth dimension, your desire is already materialized and finished, but you dwell in the third dimension, and on this physical plane things are subject to the law of time and space. There is a logistical delay between the electrical signal of your mind and the coagulation of matter. This delay is not a divine punishment. It is a biological protection measure. If every thought you had materialized instantly, the chaos of your own mind would have destroyed you years ago. The waiting time is the universe's buffer. It gives you the necessary space to sustain your new vibrational frequency and prove that your assumption was not a passing weekend whim. But the human ego hates the vacuum. When the ego does not see immediate results, it panics. It feels ignored by the universe, and it begins to manufacture conspiracy theories to justify its fear. The ego whispers to you, "You did it wrong, you don't have the right vibration level, God is punishing you." This law of assumption stuff is a scam to deceive the desperate. And right in that moment of doubt, you commit the most catastrophic error of the entire alchemical process. You grab the shovel of your anxiety and start digging. You start digging up the seed to see if it has already taken root. The seed digging syndrome. Think of a farmer. The farmer plows the land, places the oak seed in the darkness of the soil, waters it, and goes to sleep. He knows that the seed needs the pressure of the earth and total darkness to germinate. The farmer does not go the next day to scratch the earth with his hands to see if the seed already has leaves. If he did that, he would expose the fragile seed to premature light and kill it instantly. The true farmer has mathematical faith in biology. He knows that surface silence does not mean that a hell of activity is not occurring under the ground. He knows the seed is breaking to be born. But you, in your desperation to see results, behave like a neurotic farmer. You sow your quantum desire at night with great emotion, and the next morning you run to check your bank account. You check your phone compulsively to see if that person wrote to you. You look for physical signs in the outside world to confirm your work. You are scratching the earth. By looking for proof in the 3D, you are declaring your disbelief. You are saying, I do not trust the invisible law. I need matter to prove it to me first. You have just murdered your manifestation. Seeking proof is the electromagnetic signature of lack. If you were already the possessor of your desire, you would not be looking for signs of its arrival. The king does not look out the window searching for his own crown, he wears it on his head. The secret purpose of darkness. You have to change your psychological relationship with darkness and silence. Darkness is not the void, it is the womb of creation. Everything of real value in this universe is forged in absolute blindness. The human baby forms in the darkness of the mother's womb. The diamond crystallizes under the crushing and dark pressure of tectonic plates. Your miracle requires exactly the same extreme conditions. When the universe plunges you into 3D silence, it is not ignoring you, it is isolating you. It is turning off the external noise so that your only source of light and confirmation is your own internal conviction. The universe is asking you, can you sustain the image of your empire? Can you sustain it when the whole world shows you the ruins of your hut? Are you truly the creator, or are you still a slave to your physical eyes? This is the final exam of mastery. It is easy to feel like a millionaire when you have money in your pocket. The true miracle is to feel the euphoria of infinite wealth with an eviction notice. If you manage to maintain the state of dwelling in the midst of the most brutal physical contradiction, your consciousness reaches critical mass. You become unbreakable. You become an adept. The illusion of stagnation. During the desert, your mind will torture you with the illusion of stagnation. You will feel trapped in a time loop. It will seem that everyone around you is moving forward, achieving things, and being happy while you are frozen. This is an optical illusion of the matrix. The reality is that you are experiencing the bamboo effect. This is the definitive parable for the creator who walks in darkness. When you sow the seed of Japanese bamboo, you water and fertilize it during the first year. Nothing happens. The second year, you keep watering. The earth remains completely flat. Zero visible results. Third year, fourth year, fifth year. You invest water, time, and faith. You invest in a piece of land that seems sterile. Anyone would tell you that you are crazy, that the seed died a long time ago. But in the fifth year, a terrifying miracle occurs. In a span of barely 6 weeks, the Japanese bamboo breaks through the ground and grows to reach 30 meters in height. An explosion of matter. Did the bamboo grow in 6 weeks? No, it was growing for 5 years. But its growth was underground. It was creating a massive and deep root network capable of sustaining the weight of a 30-meter tree. If the bamboo had tried to grow in the first year, without those deep roots, the first strong wind would have toppled it. The darkness and the waiting time were not a delay. They were the necessary engineering for its greatness. Your dreams are a 30-meter Japanese bamboo. If the universe delivered the millions of dollars or the empire you ask for without having forged your titanium roots in the desert, the pressure of success would crush you. The silence you are experiencing right now is the growth of your roots. The universe is expanding your nervous and emotional capacity so that you can sustain the immensity of your manifestation without destroying yourself. The danger of negotiating with reality. As the desert lengthens, emotional hunger becomes unbearable. Your ego, desperate for a bit of validation, will try to convince you to lower your standards. It will try to make you negotiate your original vision. It will tell you, well, maybe I don't need to be a millionaire. Being able to pay the debts is enough for me. Maybe I don't need an extraordinary love. This mediocre person is not so bad, at least I won't be alone. You have just betrayed your I am. Negotiating with the universe is admitting defeat. It is accepting the crumbs that fall from the table of the matrix because you did not have the courage to sit in the banquet chair. In advanced metaphysics, yielding a single millimeter of your original desire is destroying the source code. The quantum field does not respond to half-hearted compromises. It responds to the non-negotiable authority of a clear mandate. You have to develop a ruthless spiritual pride. You have to look at the desert and say, either you give me exactly the greatness I ordered, or I die of thirst walking through this sand. But I am not going to drink dirty water. That radicalism scares the weak. But it is the only frequency that the quantum field truly respects. When the universe detects that you prefer physical death over giving up your vision, matter bends. The warrior's fatigue and the breaking moment. A point will come in your manifestation process where you will be exhausted. I'm not talking about physical tiredness. I'm talking about metaphysical fatigue. You will be sick of affirming, sick of visualizing, sick of sustaining the feeling. You will feel that you have no electromagnetic energy left in your chest. The techniques will seem empty to you. You will feel completely numb. The initial desperation will turn into a cold and heavy apathy. This is the famous breaking moment. It is the darkest hour of the night, the exact point where 99% of people throw in the towel, curse their books, and return to their old life as slaves. But if you knew the physics that operates behind this extreme tiredness, you would weep with joy. This fatigue is not the end of your power. It is the unequivocal sign that you have just let go of subconscious resistance. When you stop forcing visualization because you are too tired to keep fighting, you enter the Sabbath. You enter accidentally into the purest state of the law of assumption, the state of abandonment and absolute repose. You have emptied your ego. You are no longer trying to make things happen. You have simply surrendered to the assumption. The numbness you feel is the peace of knowing the mental war is over. The seed is planted. At this breaking point, you no longer need to repeat affirmations like a madman. You no longer need to get artificially excited. You have accepted your new identity with such naturalness that it is boring to you. You already are that. Paradoxically, it is at this exact moment that the miracle breaks out. It happens when you are no longer waiting for it. It happens when you have completely let go of the suffocating need to control it. The tactical distraction of 3D. To survive the last phase of the desert without going crazy, you have to apply tactical distraction. You have to occupy your three-dimensional body with activities that keep your logical mind busy and away from the seed. While your miracle gestates in the invisible, you do not stay sitting in a corner staring at the wall. That generates anxiety. You get up and live your life with excellence. You wash the dishes, you go to the gym, you work on your projects, you do the most mundane tasks of the 3D world, but you do them knowing the secret. You do them with the silent smile of one who knows a shipment of cosmic gold is traveling toward them. You are an actor on stage. This immersion in the physical present moment is the best way to accelerate the perception of time. If you are busy building your body, learning a language, or polishing a skill, the waiting time disappears. The sovereign creator uses the desert to sharpen his material weapons. He knows that when massive abundance arrives, he will need iron discipline to manage it. Use the silence of the universe as a personal training ground. If you are waiting for a financial empire, use the waiting time to learn to manage the money you already have. Act at your level with the mentality of a billionaire. The collapse of reality and the final explosion. If you stand firm, if you do not dig up the seed, if you refuse to negotiate your vision, and if you go through the breaking point with an elegant surrender, the universe has no other mathematical option but to collapse. The tension between your internal vibration and your external environment reaches an unsustainable point. It is like stretching an elastic band to the maximum of its capacity. It has to let go. And when it lets go, the blow is brutal, fast, and relentless. The Japanese bamboo breaks the ground. What took years to prepare in the dark manifests before your physical eyes in a matter of days or hours. You receive the call. Money enters your account through a route you would never have calculated. The right person bumps into you on the street. The bridge of incidents reveals its perfect master architecture. The three-dimensional shock will be immense. You will be breathless, seeing the impenetrable wall turn to dust. You will see that the laws of the material world were always a manipulable illusion. In that moment of extreme euphoria, you will feel the temptation to shout your victory to the world. You will want to rub your success in the faces of those who doubted you. You will want to become a guru. Beware, this is the last trap. Sudden success can intoxicate you and make you forget that you are still the machine operator. If you lose yourself in the material celebration, you will lose the anchor of your eternal I am. The true Creator receives the miracle with the same lethal calm with which he walked through the desert. He smiles, gives thanks internally to his own divine imagination, and keeps the secret. He knows that the 3D world is still just a mirror. He does not worship the manifestation. He worships the creative principle that made it possible. If you lose the money tomorrow, you know you can manifest it again. You have crossed the dark night of the metaphysical soul. You have survived the crushing silence of dense matter. You have proven that your faith does not depend on the temporary confetti of the outside world. You have earned your own crown by your own hand. The process is complete. You have the theory, the emotion, the action. You are a lethal weapon in the fabric of reality. There is no turning back to the mud hut. You are standing in the throne room of your own empire. But sitting on the throne requires a final metamorphosis. You cannot reign with the posture of a slave who got lucky. You have to assume your divinity with sacred arrogance. Chapter 10. The Tribe of the Unbelievers. The shield of silence and the protection of your quantum seed. You have crossed the desert of waiting. You have survived the crushing silence of dense matter. Your quantum seed is planted deeply in the fertile darkness of your subconscious mind. The internal work is done. The engine of your electromagnetic emotion roars with strength. Your steering wheel of mathematical faith is firm. You know it is only a matter of physical time before the Japanese bamboo breaks the ground and rises majestically toward the sky. You feel euphoric. The revelation of your own power as an architect of reality burns in your chest. You have discovered the best-kept secret of the universe, and you feel an uncontrollable biological urge to share it. You want to shout it from the rooftops. You want to call your mother, your best friend, your partner. You want to tell them, I discovered how to hack the matrix. I'm going to be a millionaire. I'm going to heal my body. Our life is going to change. Stop right now. Close your mouth. Bite your tongue until you bleed if necessary. You are 3 seconds away from committing the stupidest, most tragic and common quantum suicide of all novices in applied metaphysics. You are about to throw your quantum baby, newly conceived and still without an immune system, into a cage full of starving wolves. You are about to subject your frequency to the lethal radiation of the tribe. You are about to subject your frequency to the lethal radiation of the tribe of the unbelievers. Today we are going to study the most violated rule of Hermeticism and conscious creation. A rule that the great masters, prophets, and alchemists of antiquity left written in stone, but that your ego refuses to obey. It is the law of absolute silence. In the biblical texts, every time the Master Jesus performed a physical miracle, healed a blind man or raised a sick person, he gave them a strict, blunt, and almost threatening order. He did not say to them, "Go and tell the whole village so that they worship me and we become famous." He looked them in the eye and ordered with extreme severity. He ordered with extreme severity, "See that you tell no one, go quietly on your way." Traditional religion taught you that the Master said this out of humility. They told you it was an act of modesty not to draw attention. What a monumental and cynical stupidity. It had absolutely nothing to do with morality. That order was not an act of false modesty. It was a tactical instruction of pure and hard quantum survival. It was advanced physics applied to the protection of fragile, newly formed matter. It was an anti-missile shield. The Master knew perfectly well that the newly conceived miracle is unstable in the three-dimensional world. He knew that if the healed blind man went to the town square to shout his cure, the tribe of the unbelievers would surround him immediately. The neighbors would start to question him. "Are you sure you're cured? Isn't it a trick? Blindness is incurable. Science says so. Surely tomorrow you'll see nothing again, you're hallucinating." All that artillery of skepticism, envy, and three-dimensional logic, concentrated like a laser beam of collective doubt on the mind of the newly healed, would have destroyed his mathematical faith in a matter of minutes. By doubting his own miracle under social pressure, the man would have again emitted the signature of the disease. The wave function would have collapsed in reverse, and the next morning he would have woken up blind again. That is the anatomy of quantum murder, and that is exactly what you do every time you open your huge mouth to tell your big projects to people who operate on the frequency of survival, fear, and scarcity. We live in a world of sleepwalkers. 99% of humanity is deeply asleep, hypnotized by the screen of the matrix. They adore scarcity. They worship news of crisis and feed on drama. You are an anomaly in the system. You have awakened. You are trying to operate with the laws of the source code, but your environment remains the same. You are surrounded by the tribe of the unbelievers, and they hate anomalies. Your logical mind deceives you. It tells you that your friends and family will be happy for your ambitions. You convince yourself that if you tell them you're going to build a financial empire using faith, they will support you and applaud you. Wake up from that adolescent fantasy right now. Your friends and family love you, yes, but they love you in the state of limitation in which they met you. Your relationship with them is built on a tacit contract of shared mediocrity. You join together to complain about the economy. You join together to speak ill of the rich. You join together to share romantic sorrows. Pain and complaining are the emotional glue of your social relationships. It is your collective comfort zone. When you suddenly stand up and say, "Misery is over. I'm going to claim my crown and be a sovereign billionaire," you are not inspiring them. You are terrifying them. You are breaking the contract of the flock. By declaring your success, you become a bright and cruel mirror that reflects their cowardice. If you prove that it is possible to exit the matrix using the mind, you are taking away their excuse that the system is to blame. If you succeed, they are exposed as lazy and cowardly. Their ego cannot bear that cosmic humiliation, so their biological survival instinct is activated instantly. Their subconscious mission is to destroy you before you fly. They will not do it with explicit malice. They will not pull a knife. They will do it disguised as love, concern, and common sense. They will use the sharpest three-dimensional logic to stab your quantum fetus directly in the heart. They will tell you in a paternal tone, "Son, be careful. The economy is very bad. Don't put your hopes in fantasies. You have to be realistic." I know someone who tried that and ended up bankrupt. I'm telling you for your own good. Each of those benevolent words is a heavy-caliber bullet fired against your faith. It is pure toxic radiation. And because you love them and respect their emotional authority, their doubts will penetrate your shields and settle in your brain. You will leave that family meal feeling heavy, grey, and scared. The fire that burned in your chest will have become a cold ash. You will start to think, maybe they are right. Maybe I am delusional. Better I stay as I am. You have just aborted your own cosmic child on the altar of social approval. You gave your gold to the swine and you are surprised that they have trampled it in the mud. The ancient master had already warned you, and you ignored him. Why do you feel that pathological need to tell people your plans? Let's gut your ego. If you had the absolute mathematical certainty that your desire is already a fait accompli, you would have no anxiety to announce it. The one who already has the $1 million in the bank does not go down the street shouting, "I'm going to be a millionaire." He keeps quiet and enjoys his money. The urgency to speak is the unmistakable signature of internal doubt. You speak because you need to convince yourself. You look in the eyes of others for the spark of validation that you yourself cannot sustain within. You want them to tell you that your plan is brilliant, so you can feel secure. You are a beggar asking for coins of confirmation. A sovereign creator does not report to the matrix. The sovereign operates in stealth mode. He is the silent assassin of realities. He does not announce his movements. He does not give lectures on what he is going to do. He simply appears with the finished work. Silence is the tungsten armor of quantum faith. When you keep your goals, your visualizations, and your decrees in absolute secret, energy cannot escape. Electromagnetic energy has no way to escape from your auric field. All that boiling energy accumulates inside you. The pressure increases to critical levels. By not finding an escape valve through your words and gossip, that energy has no choice but to burst forth into the physical plane as matter. Talking dissipates the charge. Doing it in silence condenses it. When you tell someone about your big project, your brain releases a small dose of dopamine. You feel the chemical pleasure of achievement, despite not having moved a single finger. Your primitive brain gets confused. It thinks, we already received social recognition. Mission accomplished. And immediately after, it steals the motivation, discipline, and aggressiveness necessary to dig the tunnel in the material world. Silence keeps you hungry. Silence keeps you in a state of unbearable creative tension. It forces you to convert mental energy into relentless physical work. It turns you into a pressure cooker without a safety valve. But keeping your mouth shut in a world obsessed with overexposure is an advanced martial art. Your friends will ask you. People will want to know what you're up to. Your social environment will demand that you render the report of your life. This is where you must train the smile of the enlightened psychopath, armored courtesy. When they ask you about your finances or your future, look at them with total serenity and give them empty, cordial, and absolutely harmless answers. Everything is going very well, working hard, you will tell them. You don't reveal figures. You don't reveal your state of mind. You don't tell them that last night you collapsed a probability wave that will make you owner of your industry in 6 months. You give them crumbs of normalcy. If they start complaining about the economy or the government in front of you, do not try to correct them. Do not pull out your metaphysics books to give them a class on the law of assumption. Do not try to save those who are in love with their own prison. Trying to wake up an unbeliever by force is a monumental drain of energy. You are not the messiah of your group of friends. You are the architect of your own salvation. Let them complain. Nod your head in silence and keep your shields up. While they waste their vital force cursing the darkness, you are sitting there, drinking your coffee, holding the unwavering vibration of your wish fulfilled. You are an undercover agent operating behind enemy lines. A painful phase will come in this process that you must look at coldly. By applying silence and ceasing to participate in the complaining rituals of the tribe of the unbelievers, a vibrational abyss will be created between you and them. Your old friendships will start to feel uncomfortable around you. They will no longer resonate with you. They will feel that you have become cold or distant. They will invite you to fewer meetings. Physical isolation will begin to manifest naturally. Do not panic. This is not a punishment. It is the purge of the system. Your new electromagnetic frequency is repelling the low-density vibrational signatures. Your energy field is expelling them out of pure physical incompatibility. Accept the solitude of the Creator. It is the oldest rite of passage in the world. The eagle flies alone in the stratosphere. It is the pigeons that huddle in the squares fighting for crumbs of stale bread. You have to learn to breathe up there. That social quarantine is the white space that the universe needs to be able to render your new tribe. If your life remains full of emotional parasites, there is no physical or energetic space for the titans of your new reality to enter. Resist the temptation to return to the mud just because you feel lonely on a Saturday night. Solitude is the workshop where gods are forged. Accustom yourself to the echo of your own thoughts. Fall in love with the silence of the tomb before the resurrection. The great deception of the spiritual ego is thinking that you need to share your light immediately. You believe it is your duty to enlighten others while you are broke. That is the pride of the beggar who wants to give economics lessons. No one is going to listen to your advice on metaphysics if your bank account is at zero and your life is a mess. The material world is deaf to philosophy. The material world only respects results. It only kneels before manifested matter. Be silent and build. Let your mouth remain closed with a titanium padlock until the miracle crashes against the floor of the 3D world. And even when the miracle bursts forth, when success is so obscene that it blinds the unbelievers, maintain the mystery. When you appear with your new life, the tribe will be breathless. They will approach you no longer with mockery, but with a respect tinged with terror. They will ask you, how did you do it? What is your secret? Were you lucky? Did you cheat? And you, from the tranquility of your throne, will look at them with the compassion of a king toward his sleeping subjects. You will smile at them slightly, and you will not give them a speech. You will not explain the collapse of the wave function or electromagnetic emotion, because you will understand that he who is not ready to awaken will use your pearls of wisdom to drown himself. You will simply tell them, I believed in myself when no one else did and I worked in silence. You will give them the three-dimensional answer that their limited minds can process, and you will retreat to your inner palace, letting the legend speak for you. Faith requires an airtight container. If a submarine has a crack the size of a hair, the pressure of the ocean floor will crush it like a soda can. Your mind must be that impenetrable titanium submarine. From the reading of this chapter, you issue a quantum restraining order on your own mouth. Your desires are sacred. Your nightly visualizations are the most important classified material of your entire existence. If you feel the biological urge to speak, write it in a notebook. Vomit your anxiety onto the paper, and then burn the damn sheet in your kitchen sink. Let the fire purify the energy leak, but do not involve another human. The only exception to the law of absolute silence is when you find another adept. When the universe crosses your path with another sovereign creator, someone who already has the crown, with a master of your same caliber, you can speak, because their eyes will not reflect your fear. Their mind will not project doubt onto your quantum fetus. A true adept will hear your dream of $1 trillion and will respond to you with total coldness. It is done. Two masterminds synchronized in mathematical certainty create nuclear fission. It is what the ancient texts called, "Where two or three are gathered in my name, the I am, there am I in the midst of them." It is the maximum amplifier. But until the universe puts those titans face to face, you assume your role as a lone sniper. You operate in the shadows. You do not seek applause in the process of demolition. You bear the weight of your greatness alone, without crying. Protect your faith like a fierce mother protects her newborn cub from the jaws of a pack of hyenas. Do not allow the vulgarity of three-dimensional common sense to profane your altar. You know things that they cannot even conceive in their wildest dreams. You are playing chess in the fifth dimension, while they are still fighting for breadcrumbs on the floor of the Chinese checkers board. Isolation is your tactical advantage. Silence is your particle accelerator. Accept that you will be the weird one. Accept that they will call you crazy behind your back. The judgment of slaves is the medal of honor of free kings. Move without making noise. Plant the seed in the deep night. Water with the emotion of anticipated gratitude in your closed bedroom. And let the universe explode the result into the sunlight. You have armored your mind against external attacks. You have raised the wall of fire that repels the unbelievers. But now we face the most painful and resistant ghost that lives within the walls of your own mental castle. Your faith can be unwavering against the world. Your silence can be perfect. But if in the subterranean vaults of your subconscious, you continue to keep the unburied corpses of your childhood traumas, the building will collapse. You cannot build an empire of infinite abundance if your inner child is still crying in the dark. The quantum field reads your deepest scars above your loudest decrees. Chapter 11, The Faith of the Scar. Healing trauma to manifest and the technique of revision. You have built a wall of titanium against the outside world. You have silenced the unbelievers. You have the engine of emotion ignited and your hands gripped to the steering wheel of your mathematical faith. But there is a smell of rot rising from the basements of your own mental castle. The ship moves forward, but there is a water leak in the hull that threatens to sink your empire into darkness. All your discipline, all your decrees, and all your fasting of the senses will be of absolutely no use if your subconscious mind remains anchored to the unburied corpse of your past. You cannot build a 100-story skyscraper on foundations that were dynamited in your childhood. The quantum field reads your base frequency, not the positive makeup you put on in the morning. If in the depths of your neurology you still believe you don't deserve love because your parents abandoned you, your external faith is a mask. The universe will always respond to the vibration of your hidden wound, the invisible enemy in the basement. You have become an expert at controlling your daily thoughts. You block doubts about your business or your current relationship, but you ignore the corrupt file that runs in the background. That corrupt file is your trauma. It is the terrified inner child who remains hidden in the closet of your psyche. It is the humiliated teenager who continues to bleed emotionally every time someone criticizes them. You have tried to cover that wound with money, with professional achievements, with new partners, or with fast consumption spirituality. You have put a golden band-aid over a skull fracture, and the pain keeps throbbing. True quantum mastery requires you to descend into that dark basement with a torch in your hand. It requires you to look the monsters of your past in the eye, not to become their friend, but to definitively decapitate them. The quantum anatomy of trauma. What is a trauma at a metaphysical and biological level? They have taught you that trauma is a terrible event that happened to you in the past and marked you forever. That is the lie of limiting psychology. The event is already over. The person who hurt you is perhaps already dead or far from your life. The abuse, the bankruptcy, or the humiliation lasted a few minutes or a few years on the physical timeline. They no longer exist. Real trauma is the electromagnetic signature that remained trapped in your central nervous system. It is a short circuit. It is the constant repetition of a dead echo that your brain confuses with danger. Your primitive brain does not know the difference between the past and the present. When you remember the pain with resentment, your body secretes the same stress hormones it secreted on the day of the original accident. For the quantum field, you are not remembering the past. You are issuing a creation order in the present time. You are saying, "I'm a wounded victim," and the universe collapses that wave into your current reality. The clinical addiction to the wound. Why do you cling to your pain if it is so destructive? Because your ego has fallen in love with the wound. Your scar has become your identity card. It is your perfect and socially accepted excuse for not being extraordinary. If someone takes away your story of victimhood, who are you? You are terrified of the void of having no one to blame. You prefer the familiar warmth of your historical misery than the cold challenge of absolute responsibility. You talk about your wounds with pride in meetings. You go to therapy to dig in the mud for years. You analyze why your mother didn't love you or why your father left. You become a scholar of your own misfortune. Understanding trauma does not heal it. Analyzing the poison does not take the poison out of your blood. It only turns you into an expert on poisons who continues to die slowly while delivering brilliant lectures on their pain. Advanced metaphysics does not waste time analyzing darkness. Metaphysics turns on the light and annihilates the shadow by contact. You have to stop worshipping the altar of your past suffering if you want to reign in your future. The physical illusion of linear time. To cure this infection, you first have to destroy your concept of time. They taught you that the past is an immovable stone structure. They told you that what's done is done, and that history cannot be changed. False. Modern quantum physics suggests to us that time is not linear, but simultaneous. The past, present, and future exist at once in the immense holographic archive of the universe. Everything occurs in the eternal now. The past that torments you so much is not a physical place you can travel to in a car. The past is solely a network of neurons firing in your brain in this exact millisecond. It is a memory. It is information. If the past is only information stored in your present mind, then the past is completely malleable. It is not stone. It is clay. If you alter the memory today, you alter the physical consequences that memory has tomorrow. You are not the victim of your story. You are the editor-in-chief of your own quantum biography. You have the power, the right, and the obligation to take the scissors and cut the scenes of your life that do not serve you. The forbidden technique, the revision. The mystic Neville Goddard gave us the most violent, radical, and miraculous tool of all Hermetic teaching. He called it the revision. It is the ability to literally rewrite the past through imagination. Revision is not forgiving what happened. It is flatly refusing to accept that it happened. It is entering the darkroom of your mind, taking the tape of the movie of your life, erasing the traumatic scene, and filming a new scene over it. If you had a destructive fight with someone today, you do not go to sleep accepting that failure. You lie down in your bed, relax your body, and replay the day in your mind. But when you reach the scene of the fight, you stop the tape. You erase the screams. You erase the insults. And you imagine the conversation exactly as you would have liked it to happen. You imagine a hug. You imagine words of love and understanding. You feel the emotion of that new peaceful resolution. You repeat that corrected scene over and over in your head, filling it with realism, until the new version feels more real than the version that occurred in the 3D world. You fall asleep assuming the day was perfect. By doing this, you are not deceiving your mind. You are altering the source code of reality. You are pruning the tree of time. By changing the memory, you change your electromagnetic frequency, and you alter the future behavior of that person. The open heart surgery. What you do with a bad day, you have to do with your whole life. You have to apply revision to your deepest traumas. This is open heart surgery, and you cannot tremble when you hold the mental scalpel. Travel to the most painful memory of your childhood. That moment in which you felt rejected, humiliated, or unloved. Observe the scene with the coldness of a film director. Look at the boy or girl you were, crying in that room. Now you enter the scene. Stop the horror movie. If an adult was hurting you, erase them from the scene in your imagination. Freeze them and remove them from the frame. Replace the darkness with bright light. Imagine the opposite occurs. If you expected your father to hug you and he didn't, imagine vividly that the door opens. Your father enters, picks you up in his arms, tells you that you are his greatest pride, and gives you the love you needed. Feel that hug in your imagination. Feel the weight of his arms. Hear the exact tone of his voice saying the healing words. Cry if you have to cry. Let the emotion of salvation flood your chest and your throat. Make it so real that the inner child stops crying. Repeat this corrected scene every night. Force yourself to remember it this way. Train your brain so that, when it searches for that memory, it only finds the version full of love and triumph. The biology of the new identity. Science calls this neuroplasticity. When you review the new memory with an elevated emotion, you are destroying the neural connections of the old trauma and forging a new electrical highway in your brain. You are literally altering your blood chemistry. You are erasing the biological footprint of the abuse. In a matter of weeks of applying relentless revision, the original event will feel like a blurry and distant nightmare. The new imagined scene will become your true emotional history. Your body will relax. You will no longer be in survival mode. You will have hacked your own timeline and resurrected your soul. It is the ultimate display of divine arrogance. You are telling the 3D universe, I do not accept your version of the facts. My imagination is the only real authority. What I decree in my mind is the only historical truth I recognize. When you heal the past in this aggressive way, the future clears automatically. The invisible anchor breaks. Your mathematical faith no longer has holes through which to leak. All your electromagnetic voltage is directed toward success. Cutting the root of self-sabotage. Do you remember the self-sabotage from Chapter 8? 90% of your inexplicable failures in business and in love are born from these unresolved traumas. If as a child they taught you that money was dirty, your mind will destroy your earnings to protect you. If you learned that loving was equal to being abandoned, you will destroy your healthiest relationships so as not to feel the pain of surprise abandonment. You prefer to cause chaos than to live with the anxiety of waiting for the blow. You are your own executioner. Revision is the antidote against the internal executioner. If you rewrite the scene where they taught you that money is bad and change it for a scene where your parents teach you that wealth is sacred, the financial block is pulverized. You don't have to spend 20 years on a psychologist's couch looking for justifications for your defective behavior. You have to go to the editing room, cut the defective scene, paste the scene of glory, and hit the play button. This terrifies traditional therapists. They are terrified of the idea that you can heal yourself in the silence of your bedroom without depending on their eternal diagnoses. They will tell you that you are repressing the trauma. Do not listen to them. Repressing is hiding the trash under the rug while it continues to stink. Revising is putting the trash into a quantum incinerator and transforming it into pure energy. The fire of your imagination does not hide the pain, it transmutes it. Forgiveness versus total rewriting. In previous chapters, we talked about forgiving to let go of resentment. Forgiveness is step number 1 to stop the energy hemorrhage. It is letting go of the enemy. But revision is the final step of mastery. Forgiveness leaves the scar visible. You say, you cut me, it hurt, but I forgive you. Revision, on the other hand, is the total elimination of the scar. You say, you never cut me. That timeline has been closed by my consciousness. It is a level of holy psychopathy. You have to be willing to lie to your own tragic memories until the golden lie becomes the absolute truth of your biology. It is the most glorious brainwashing you can do to yourself. If someone reminds you of the painful event in the 3D world, you look at them with strangeness. You don't argue with them, but internally you laugh, because you inhabit a timeline where that never happened. You are unreachable to their misery. The faith of the scar means that you trust more in the new tissue generated by your mind than in the old wound certified by the world. Your faith is so great that it travels back in time and rewrites your code of origin. The paradox of the old self. When you practice revision with Spartan discipline, a very strange psychological phenomenon will occur. You will feel a kind of mourning, a silent pain, and a confusion of identity. Your mind will say, "Who am I now?" You are experiencing the physical death of your old self. The chronic victim is suffocating for lack of narrative oxygen. By erasing their master tragedies, the old self is left without arguments to continue existing in your mind. Let it die. Do not run to revive it out of nostalgia. It is normal to feel vertigo when you let go of the chain of suffering. The chain you wore around your neck for 30 years, the neck feels too light, the air feels too clean. Resist the temptation to tell your sad story back to your friends, to connect emotionally. If you tell the sad story, you resurrect the corpse. Your new personal story must be of triumph. It must be triumph, or it must simply be pure silence. You are not the survivor of a hell. You are a god who had a bad dream, woke up, erased the nightmare from his memory, and set about building galaxies. That is your only real identity. Everything else is cheap fiction of the three-dimensional matrix, the fertile void and the new birth. Once you have cleaned the basements of your mental castle, once revision has swept away childhood traumas and insecurities, a massive space is created inside you. It is an immense, neat, and terrifyingly silent void. That is the fertile void. It is the cosmic womb prepared to conceive the real empire. Subconscious resistance is no longer there. There are no more energy leaks toward the past. 100% of your electromagnetic capacity is available. When you launch an assumption of wealth or love from this fertile void, the speed of manifestation is ridiculous. You no longer have to fight yourself. There is no longer a handbrake pressed to the floor. The quantum car is a friction-free missile. You will be surprised at how easy life becomes when you are not fighting the ghosts of your own history. Opportunities will begin to fall into your lap with amazing fluidity. The right people will appear. You will realize that life in survival mode was a pathological choice. Life in creation mode is smooth, rhythmic, and mathematically perfect. Brute struggle disappears and is replaced by the flow of silent power. Radical acceptance of power. But in this state of grace, the penultimate fear of the human being arises, the fear of your own immensity. When you see that your thoughts, clean of trauma, alter physical reality with Swiss precision, you can become scared of yourself. You discover that there are no limits. You discover that you can have, be, or do absolutely anything your imagination can conceive and your body can feel. And that lack of limits gives vertigo to the mind that was educated to be a slave. You start to ask yourself, is it right for me to have so much power? Will I not be punished by life for playing God? Should I settle for less so as not to attract the attention of tragic fate? Destroy that thought immediately. That is the last breath of religious dogma trying to keep you small. Playing God is not a sin. It is your biological and spiritual destiny. It is the exact reason why you are incarnated here. The universe did not give you the most sophisticated machine in the cosmos to pay taxes, watch television, and die in anonymity. It gave you this machinery so that you dominate matter and expand creation. Being mediocre with the keys to the kingdom is a sin. It is an insult to the infinite intelligence that inhabits you. You have to accept your power with a radical and cold responsibility. If you have the power to heal your traumas with imagination, you have the obligation to create a life that is a dazzling work of art. There are no excuses for poverty or illness. The blood price of freedom. You have traveled the full path of healing. You have seen that trauma is not a steel chain, but a spiderweb that you yourself fed with your daily attention. You have used the sword of revision to cut those invisible threads. You do not have to ask the world for forgiveness. You do not have to wait for those who hurt you to recognize their mistake. You have given yourself the absolute emotional closure you begged for outside. You have self-rescued from the abyss with pure mental strength. That is the blood price of true freedom. You have to be your own savior, your own psychologist, your own father and your own mother on the screen of your imagination. You have to provide yourself with all the love you lacked in the 3D world. When you become the inexhaustible source of your own validation, The entire universe makes a physical bow before you. The Matrix cannot control a human who needs nothing from the outside to feel complete and powerful. You become unhackable. You are a closed and perfect algorithm. Society's criticisms bounce off your force field. Global financial crises are just background noise while you operate in your personal economy. The seal of the surgeon. Today, before sleeping, you will perform your last surgery. You will review the master file of your life. Close your eyes and look at your timeline from your birth until today. Look at it as a straight, shiny, and neat road, without a single pothole of pain. Erase each humiliation. Erase each failure. Erase every time you felt paralyzing fear. Flood that timeline with a golden light of uninterrupted success. Assume you were born a winner and that you have always been untouchable. Lie down knowing that your past has been purified in the fire of your own authority. Your database is clean. Your operating system just updated to the sovereign version. The scar no longer exists. There is only new skin. And now, with the foundations reinforced with titanium and the past rewritten in your favor, there is nothing preventing you from claiming your divine right. The last step awaits you. The throne is empty and the hall is in silence. It is the moment to close the circle. It is time to abandon all techniques, all efforts, and all tools. It is the moment to stop acting like a student of metaphysics and start reigning as the absolute master. Chapter 12. It is finished. The state of rest and the absolute peace of the completed creation. You have fought the greatest battle of your existence. You have descended into the basements of your mind to annihilate trauma. You have reprogrammed your nervous system. You have crossed the desert of matter and silenced the unbelievers. You are a warrior covered with the blood of your own ego. You have used the sword of your attention and the shield of your silence with relentless military discipline. But now listen to me well. The war is over. Lower your weapons. You are about to enter the highest, most sacred, and misunderstood level of quantum faith. It is the phase where 99% of students collapse. They collapse from pure exhaustion. It is the final border of the Creator. Welcome to the Sabbath. Welcome to the seventh day of creation. Welcome to the state of rest. Today you are going to learn the most difficult lesson for a human mind addicted to control, learning to do absolutely nothing. The disease of continuous effort. We have been educated in the culture of perpetual effort. They taught you that to achieve something valuable, you have to sweat blood every day. They told you that if you stop for a single second, you will lose everything you have built. That is the mentality of the slave who chips stone in the mine. The slave believes his value depends on the number of blows he gives with the pickaxe. If he stops hitting, the foreman punishes him. Your foreman is your own subconscious anxiety. You have brought that toxic slave mentality to the world of metaphysics. You believe you have to work your manifestation every day. You believe that if you don't visualize for 3 hours every night, the universe will cancel your order. You wake up in the morning and repeat 500 affirmations in front of the mirror, shouting like a lunatic to convince yourself that you are rich. You write your desire in a notebook 50 times until your fingers bleed. Do you know what you are really doing with all that monumental effort? You are shouting to the quantum field your deepest and most absolute lack of faith. You are operating from the purest and most primitive terror. The anatomy of doubt disguised as discipline. If you had the mathematical certainty that your desire is already an undeniable fact in the fifth dimension, why would you keep pleading for it? Continuous effort is the irrefutable proof that you do not believe the seed has germinated. Think of a woman who has just discovered she is pregnant. She sees the positive test. She feels the certainty of life growing inside her. Does she keep taking pregnancy tests every day to convince herself? Does she keep trying to get pregnant every night because she is afraid the universe has forgotten her fetus? Of course not. She enters a state of mental rest. She knows that the work of conception is finished. From that moment on, she simply takes care of herself and lets biology do the heavy work of assembling physical matter for 9 months. She does not interfere in cell division. She trusts the law of gestation. Your desire is exactly the same. The day you turned on the engine of electromagnetic emotion and joined your thought to absolute gratitude, conception occurred. The miracle is already pregnant in the womb of the universe. The Sabbath, the rest of the internal God. In ancient texts, it is said that God created the world in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested. Literal religion taught you that God was physically tired and needed to sleep. What an absurd and insulting interpretation. Infinite intelligence does not get tired. The Sabbath is not a physical rest, it is a state of consciousness. The 7th day represents the exact moment when the Creator looks at his work, declares it is perfect and stops interfering. It is the total and absolute cessation of mental struggle. It is the abandonment of all techniques, methods, and rituals. When you enter the Sabbath, you throw your vision boards in the trash. You throw them away because you no longer need them. You stop repeating affirmations because it feels ridiculous to affirm something you already possess. If you have your shoes on right now, do you go down the street repeating, "I have shoes, I have shoes"? No. He who possesses keeps silence. Entering the state of rest means you have crossed the vibrational finish line. You have gone from being the seeker to being the owner. The seeker runs, sweats, and despairs. The owner sits on his throne and breathes calmly. The supreme symptom, divine boredom. Here is where your ego will try to sabotage you for the last time. When you truly enter the Sabbath, you will experience a physical and emotional symptom that will terrify you at first. You will feel a deep apathy toward your desire. Suddenly, that goal for which you cried and visualized with passion will stop mattering to you. You will feel a detachment so cold and absolute that you will think you have lost your manifestation. Your mind will scream, "Wake up! You no longer feel the emotion. You have lost your faith. Go back to visualizing quickly before the universe cancels the order." This is the exact point where most students break. They yield to the panic of the ego. They return to forcing visualization. They turn the engine of need back on. And in doing so, they dig up the quantum seed that was already about to break the ground. They ruin their own miracle. You have to be smarter than your frightened biology. That detachment is not the loss of faith. That boredom and apathy are the definitive and supreme symptom that your subconscious mind has accepted the desire as a real fact. The normalcy of greatness. Think about it logically. The human brain cannot maintain a state of permanent euphoria for something that is already part of its daily life. Euphoria is the emotion of novelty, of the unreachable that suddenly becomes possible. But when something becomes yours, euphoria disappears and is replaced by normalcy. Does it excite you to turn on the tap and have drinking water come out? No, it's normal. It's a fact, it's yours. You don't spend emotional energy celebrating it every day. That divine boredom is the vibrational signature of absolute possession. When thinking about your bank account with millions does not cause tachycardia. When it causes a yawn of normalcy instead, you have just hacked the system. You have domesticated greatness. You have turned it into your default state. The universe has no other mathematical option but to materialize the money in your 3D account because your base frequency no longer registers wealth as an anomaly. You must embrace this emotional silence. You must feel comfortable in the coldness of knowing that you already won. When the desire dies in your chest, it is not because you have failed. It is because the desire has been transmuted into pure identity. It is finished, the final decree. In the biblical narrative, the last words of the Master Jesus on the cross are, "It is finished." Throughout history, religion has interpreted this as a cry of agony and defeat, as the tragic end of a physical life. But in high Hermetic metaphysics, the crucifixion is not a historical event of torture. It is the psychological process of nailing your consciousness to your new assumption until your old miserable identity, the old man, dies completely. And the cry of "It is finished" is the most powerful decree in the entire quantum universe. The original word in Greek is tetelestai, which was an accounting term. It literally meant, "The debt is paid in full." When you manage to assume the feeling of your desire fulfilled with such force that your old miserable self dies of suffocation, you emit that same cry in the quantum field. You declare that the electromagnetic price has been paid. You declare that the transaction is closed. There is nothing more to add. There is nothing more to visualize. There are no more techniques to apply. The contract is signed with the blood of your old identity. It is finished. The art of letting go of tools. Once you emit that decree, your relationship with spiritual tools must change radically. Meditation, decrees, and visualizations were the scaffolding you used to build the skyscraper of your new mind. But when the skyscraper is finished, what does the intelligent architect do? He dismantles the scaffolding. He removes it from the facade because he no longer needs it, and because it makes the finished work look ugly. The building now stands on its own. You are still clinging to your scaffolding. You keep using manifestation techniques as if they were crutches. You are terrified to walk without them. You believe that power resides in the technique, when power has always resided exclusively in you. Letting go of the tools is the supreme act of sovereignty. It is telling the universe, I trust the order I just issued so much that I refuse to repeat it. I will not insult my own divine authority by asking for the same thing twice. The king does not sign a royal decree 50 times a day to make sure his subjects have heard it. The king signs the parchment once, puts his red wax seal on it, and goes to sleep knowing the kingdom will obey. The 3D provocation test. Just when you enter this state of absolute rest, the three-dimensional matrix will try to set one last ambush for you. It will throw a direct physical provocation in your face to see if you have really let go of the scaffolding. It will send you terrible news, a bill you didn't expect, a rejection in a deal you took for granted, a violent argument with your partner. 3D reality will get ugly, dense, and aggressive to test your level of imperturbability. The slave reacts immediately. He despairs. He runs to grab his manifestation techniques. He locks himself in to meditate with panic. He tries to fix the external disaster. He has failed the test of sovereignty. The Creator who dwells in the Sabbath does not move. He looks at the provocation of the material world with cold, dead eyes. He is not afraid. He does not try to fix the 3D with desperation. He knows 3D is only the dying echo of the past. He responds to the material crisis by saying in his mind, "This is irrelevant. It is finished. My order was already processed in the machine room of the universe. This temporary chaos has no jurisdiction over my final decree." And he goes on his way. He attends to the logical problem if necessary, but his heart stays calm. His electromagnetic state remains flat, serene, and anchored in the certainty of victory. He is made of Teflon. Living from the end. The state of rest is what Neville Goddard called living in the end. It means you are no longer traveling toward your destination. You have established your permanent residence in it. You have moved all your psychological belongings to the goal. If you are living in the end of being a billionaire entrepreneur, how do you get up in the morning? You don't get up with anxiety looking for clients. You get up with the calm of one who knows the entire market belongs to him by right. You drink your coffee with the elegance of one who no longer has to prove anything. You walk down the street observing the world from above. You do not walk with cheap arrogance, but with the silent authority of infinite abundance. If you are living in the end of a perfect marriage, you do not compulsively check your partner's phone. You do not beg for attention. You feel so deeply loved and complete from within that jealousy is absurd to you. Living in the end means your internal state is completely invulnerable to market fluctuations, weather, or others' opinions. You are a titanium bunker. The world turns around you, but your center of gravity is absolute. The surrender of logistical control. The last wall of the ego that falls in the state of rest is the need to control the logistics of the universe. When you reach this level of mastery, you finally understand how ridiculous you were trying to plan the how. You realize that the quantum field has an infinite IQ. It can weave a web of coincidences, accidents, and synchronicities that would put the most brilliant human strategist in history to shame. You surrender. But you do not surrender to defeat. You surrender to the superior power of your own divine imagination. You lift your hands from the material keyboard. You let the quantum autopilot take control of the plane. That logistical surrender is a spiritual orgasm. It is taking a 1,000-kilo backpack off your back. It is no longer your job to worry about details. You no longer have to manipulate anyone. Your only job is to exist in the frequency of gold. When you let go of control, magic is unleashed. The right people call you by mistake. A stranger in an airport offers you the contact you needed. Documents are approved mysteriously fast. Physical gravity seems to bend in your favor. The peace that passes understanding. This is the final reward of the sovereign creator. a deep, vast, and oceanic peace that sleeping people can never understand. They will look at you in the middle of an economic crisis and ask how you can be so calm. They will think you are a psychopath lacking empathy, or they will think you are medicated. They will not be able to understand that your peace is not born from ignorance, but from technical and exact knowledge of how the machinery of creation works. You are calm because you already went to the future in your imagination, built the empire, collected the checks, felt the love, and secured the perimeter. You return to the present only to enjoy the holographic show of how it materializes. You already saw the end of the movie, and you know the hero wins overwhelmingly. Therefore, you do not stress in the action or drama scenes that occur in the middle. You sit in your seat with a smile and eat popcorn. The universe is now your personal movie theater. The tragedies of the 3D world are just cheap special effects to add emotion to the plot. You know that behind the giant screen, the projector is your own immortal consciousness. The destruction of the victim identity. Reaching this level of rest means the dog that cried over the rusty nail has died forever. The beggar who asked for coins sitting on his golden box has been buried. The false culprit has been executed. Not a single trace of the slave identity remains in your neurology. You have completely shed your skin. The ancient serpent is only dust on the road. You are a new being forged in the fire of radical responsibility. Your childhood fears now seem like a bad joke. Your past grudges are irrelevant. Your concern for what the tribe of the Unbelievers thought is non-existent. You operate in a stratosphere. You operate in a stratosphere that they don't even know exists. You have reclaimed the immaculate use of I am. You have stopped blaspheming against your own power. You have learned not to fire the second arrow of useless suffering. You are the surgeon, the architect and the king of your own biography, or the last breath before dawn. Now you find yourself at the exact point of manifestation. The seed is planted, the earth is silent, the work is done. You have paid the electromagnetic price. You should do absolutely nothing else on the mental plane. All that is left for you is to walk through the physical world with the crushing dignity of a god. Walk with the dignity of a god incarnate. Do your daily tasks with excellence. Enjoy the air in your lungs and wait for the three-dimensional curtain to rise. Because it is going to rise. The laws of quantum thermodynamics do not allow failure when the equation is balanced. Your external reality is about to undergo a massive structural collapse to adapt to your new vibration. Prepare to receive the impact. Prepare not to apologize when the avalanche of wealth, health, and power falls on you and blinds those who surrounded you in your old life. Do not feel guilt. Do not feel guilt for your excessive success. Your success is the greatest act of charity you can do for humanity. By becoming a beacon of blinding light, you prove to the slaves that the prison door was always open. You are the living evidence of the law in action. Deep breath. Close your eyes. Feel the weight of the crown on your head. Feel the fabric of your new reality enveloping your body. The universe has heard you. The order has been processed. The payment has been accepted. It is finished. The silence that follows these words is not a vacuum. It is the sound of the entire cosmos. The cosmos is holding its breath before handing you your empire. You are in the eye of the hurricane. Enjoy the perfect stillness. The manual is written. The theory has been delivered. The tactics are exposed. There are no more secrets to hide from you. You have the master blueprint in your hands. Conclusion. The awakening of the architect. Call to final and radical action. The curtain has fallen definitively. The theory has been exhausted. There are no more pages to hide in, nor more metaphysical concepts to chew on intellectually. You have the complete manual of quantum creation beating in your hands. You have learned that faith is not an alms you beg for on your knees from heaven, but the mathematical certainty with which you collapse matter. You have dethroned the external God to sit in the sacred and absolute chair of your own I am. You have crossed the burning desert of waiting. You have silenced the mediocre, and you have performed open-heart surgery on your darkest traumas. You know how to ignite the engine of emotion and hold the steering wheel in the midst of the 3D storm. But listen to me with the maximum possible coldness. All this revelation is useless trash if tomorrow you wake up and go back to operating like a slave. Universal knowledge without radical action is pure spiritual gluttony. It is a cheap anesthesia for your ego. The materialistic matrix counts on your laziness. The system expects you to close this book, sigh deeply, say, "How inspiring," and meekly return to your mud hut, complaining about the government and begging for miracles that you yourself cancel. I refuse to allow you to do that. I forbid you to ever again kneel before the deceptive evidence of your physical senses. From this damn second, you are the undisputed architect of your reality. You are no longer the victim of the script. You have to go out into the outside world and walk with the holy arrogance of one who has already won the war. Do not ask for permission to be scandalously abundant. Do not apologize for your light. Demand your birthright by applying the law with discipline. If your bank account screams scarcity at you, laugh in its face. It is a dead echo. If your body reflects pain, ignore the fossil and assume regeneration. If you are left alone in the process, bless the vacuum that will make room for your new Praetorian Guard. You have to become a lethal fanatic of your own internal vision. You have to bet your entire life and your blood on the only timeline that interests you. Burn the ships on the coast, pulverize your mediocre contingency plans. Dare to force the immense quantum field to bow before the crushing weight of your certainty. Your electromagnetic frequency is no longer negotiable. You no longer accept crumbs, nor do you tolerate the victimhood of others in your presence. You are radioactive to misery. This is the end of your training in the darkness and the first dawn of your conscious reign. The entire universe is standing, in absolute silence, waiting with notebook in hand for your executive order. The machine is turned on. You are the infinite intelligence experiencing itself in a suit of flesh. You are the master collapse of the wave function. Lift your head, breathe deeply, reclaim your territory, and never let go of the scepter ever again. It is finished. The invisible architecture is complete. Now go out there and make the damn material reality tremble and surrender beneath your feet.